Hey, this is the Reality Observation Report podcast here on Tuesday, August 7th, 2018. Barry and Andrew, no last names will be named. Trying something new here, just a little preface to the podcast.
What we talked about, kind of like a recap, but a pre-cap.
A pre-nightcap.
Yeah.
A pre-nightcap. So is a pre-nightcap like when you take a shot down in your kitchen and then you walk up the stairs with your drink that you then lay in bed and drink while you watch TV before you go to sleep?
Yeah, that's 100%.
That's a pre-nightcap.
Yeah.
So that's my every single night of existence.
It's pre and post at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. I like that though, pre-cap. But yeah, so in this we just wanted to give a little preface on what we kind of talk about in the podcast. That way, anyone who's listening for the first time, you know ahead of time of what we discuss, so that hopefully you'll stick around. If there's some content you want to hear, some content you don't want to hear, you can maybe jump around, or knowing that it's going to be there. So Barry, what are some things that we talked about?
I think the beginning we kind of hit it off with some movies that we were like into, things like that, or wanted to see, and then it went into maybe a little bit about music. I think at the beginning.
Yeah, we talked about 80s movies, how we like them, 80s music. Just kind of talked about some movies that we liked from our childhood, that sort of thing. Then we got into the
bullshit jobs.
Yeah, bullshit jobs. Fuck the 40 hour. We're trying to come up with a tagline for that. Fuck
like
40
a
hours.
hashtag for it.
Hashtag fuck 40 or something like that. Or no 9 to 5 or something like that. So if anyone has any valuable input.
And they kind of went a little bit into consciousness and dreams and waves.
Yeah, time travel. We talked about time travel a lot. Time travel, dreams, aliens, other occult, conspiratorial things.
And then kind of like a new way of looking at time travel. They opened up me for different ideas on a new ways.
Yeah, we kind of spitballed a new theory between us, our own kind of theory, and then talked about, I guess, finding yourself, your inner self, and reincarnation, and how if you figure your shit out in this one, you'll come back better. If not, go back to the source.
Yeah, and just being the best version of you that you can be.
Yeah, and looking at yourself in a mirror upon looking at yourself in a mirror, but then looking at yourself in a mirror of yourself in a mirror, in a mirror, in a mirror, in a bathroom, in a hotel, in a house, in a Winnebago, in a crack house, on a broken mirror on the street that you just took a big line of cocaine off of, that you bought from some crackhead down the street for $50, that you panhandled in some subterranean previous life that you lived where you couldn't afford shoes, and before that you were some cat chewing on guitar strings, and you took shits in your parents' bed and pissed in your parents' bed, and before that you were some mitochondrial DNA piece of some gorilla in a distant far jungle before humans ever walked the face of this planet, rubbing poop on your girlfriend's face and thinking it's some sort of face cream. Little did you know that in a million years of evolution, you would be the founder of Neutrogena.
And that's the intro to our podcast.
Reality Observation Report.
All right. We are here for the Reality Observation Report on this beautiful Tuesday, August 7th night.
Or evening.
Or evening. Or what's another word for night? Evening, night.
I don't know. Those are the only two that I really know.
Darkness.
Darkness is okay. Talking about the band, right?
Yeah. The band Darkness. They were in town not too long ago.
Oh, there's still a band?
Yeah, they played the Truman here not too long. I don't know when it was exactly, but it wasn't too long ago.
Oh. I thought they just made that one record and that's it.
The one song.
Believe in a Thing Called Love?
Yeah, that was a good song, but I think that didn't they have like a song after that?
That's the only one I really know of because he's just like dancing around and
Right.
almost like David Bowie style clothing.
Yeah. So what's been going on this week?
Not much, honestly. Still reading Your Brain is a Time Machine.
Oh, nice.
It's pretty good. And I got to like chapter.
Wait, that's the one you showed me yesterday?
Yeah. Chapter 9, where it's talking about how there's a link between neuroscience and quantum mechanics, which I've been saying for a while, which is kind of cool.
What was the book called?
Your Brain is a Time Machine. Can't remember the author offhand.
Yeah, we had a suggestion we had a suggestion for like things that we referenced to post it on our Twitter. So I'm going to start trying to keep track of what we talk about and then reference it specifically. I've been blowing up the Twitter feed with like videos I've been watching, like conspiracy videos or UFO videos or whatever kind of videos I fancy, or Joe Rogan's post about this Friday, the Westboro Baptist people going to be at his show.
I really think that they're just trolls. Like, there's got to be some main operator. Like, maybe like because it's like a pyramid scheme, right? So the base people probably actually like buy into it, but the other people, I think, are just trolls.
I don't think that it's the same thing as it used to be.
Yeah, it's getting a little weird.
It's just now I feel with social media and just the way the media is in general nowadays that they're just straight up trolls. They know that they get attention. They know that people will yell at them, and everyone's so opinionated nowadays that they get a bigger rise than they've ever gotten.
Yeah, it's like a bigger platform for them.
Yeah, like the person who started it is probably just sitting back raking in however they get money.
Souls.
Yeah, or souls. But it'll be cool to see. Yeah, Joe Rogan's going to be in Kansas City this Friday, and myself and Barry will both be there. Represent. Damn, we should have got reality observation report t-shirts.
We can still like make quick ones.
Yeah. If we should go down there super early and just walk around and try to spot him.
And then they give him a shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
We'll have to make it. I don't even know what size he wears.
Probably an extra large. He's fucking jacked.
Yeah, he's pretty big.
He had Macaulay Culkin on today, and it was so good. Macaulay Culkin is hilarious.
I haven't listened. I'm gonna listen. I don't like watching him.
Yeah.
I'll listen to it when it comes on like
Yeah.
podcasts and stuff.
I just like it because it makes the last 3 hours of work go by fast.
When I used to work at the office job, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
It's like I would listen to him like live.
Yeah.
Because you can always just rewind it.
It's good, though. Macaulay Culkin he's pretty well spoken. I mean, he sounds like he's on drugs, or he used to do a lot of drugs. He was drinking coffee, too, so that could have been it.
He's always giving that coffee away.
Yeah. But he's pretty well spoken. He has some cool things to say. He pretty much doesn't really act anymore. He just hangs out with Seth Green and just, I think he said that he was a leisure. He just is leisure, walks around being leisurely, lives life leisurely.
Yeah, probably because he's getting all that My Girl money.
No, Home Alone money.
Yeah.
Or what's that? The movie with Elijah Wood.
I don't know. I was trying to describe this movie to somebody.
I think it's called The Good Son.
The Good Son. Yeah.
That's such a good movie.
It is a really good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it like takes place with like kids,
Right.
like children.
Yeah, and the Macaulay Culkin, he killed his younger brother.
Yeah.
Dude, that bolt gun thing that he had was so awesome. I always wanted that. But when in the end, when he the mom lets Macaulay Culkin go and saves Elijah Wood.
Yeah, we're just like,
yeah, so fucked up.
yeah.
And the awesome part of that movie is when they throw the mannequin thing off the bridge and like it hits the car and it makes this big old car pile up.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Have you ever seen Toxic Avenger?
Like the old one?
Yeah, like the 80s one.
I vaguely remember it.
Oh, there's always this scene when you like talk about cars and people hitting things. There's a scene in the movie. It's like a group of teenagers and they're driving. It's like right at the beginning of the movie, and they're driving, and then they run over somebody, but the back wheel crushes in their head and it explodes everywhere. And the teenagers just keep on driving like it's no big deal.
Hey, did you ever see the movie, the old 80s movie, Super Bad? It's like a super bad movie, Quality. I think it's called like Death Race or something, where they get points for hitting people. You like want to
Oh, they remade that. with Chris Stanham.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, 80s cheesy movies like that are sometimes the best movies.
I love it. What's the one with Sylvester Stallone, Judge Dredd? The 80s one?
But that was in the 90s, actually.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Judge Dredd was like 94.
I loved RoboCop.
Yeah, RoboCop was pretty good. I liked Judge Dredd because when I was growing up, I used to read Judge Dredd comics, and my cousin would just get me a bunch of them. And they made it into a movie and a video game for Super Nintendo. And I tried so long to beat that game, but because it never worked on passwords and it never worked on saving. So in order to beat the game, you had to start and finish it in one sitting.
Yeah.
I could just never get past the first level because you have to get like specific guns to acquire like new levels and stuff. And I just kind of got bored with it. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm a kid, 94. Like I'm not.
Right.
But yeah, Judge Dredd was pretty good. And then Demolition Man. That was still in the 90s.
Oh,
but
yeah. That was with Dennis Rodman, wasn't it?
No, Wesley Snipes.
Or Wesley. Gosh, that's a Mandela effect right there.
Yeah.
Because Wesley Snipes, I think, was the bad guy in some other movie. Was it Last Action Hero? With Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I really want to rewatch Last Action Hero because that's like metafiction. And I don't remember. I remember seeing that movie in theaters with my dad. And I liked it so much. He bought me the action figures because I remember like the Arnold.
Yeah.
He had like the shirt ripped.
The
a little
red
bit.
shirt and the blue jeans, yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't seen that in a while. I probably haven't seen it since it came out in theaters, and I want to watch it again.
Yeah, that was such a. It was on TV not too long ago. The crazy guy that goes in and out of reality in the movies.
I could not tell you at all what it's about. I
Really?
I remember seeing it as a kid, and I want to see because
It's about a kid who finds somehow or another brings Arnold Schwarzenegger into the real world, and then all these people that were in movies start coming. Oh, he watches it in the movie theaters and gets like a ticket or something, or it's a reel or something. I'm not sure. It's good though.
Yeah, because I think I'm trying to figure out all the movies because I credit Truman Show and The Matrix is like fucking my head up. That I really want to see because I don't really remember Last Action Hero. That I want because I didn't watch The Matrix for. I think when I first saw it was in 99, and then I saw it again in like 2017 for like the next time after that. I didn't watch it in between at all. And there's certain scenes like, yep, I remember that as a kid. Like that just sticking in my head. And I want to see if Last Action Hero is the same way with that.
Right.
It's like, oh, I remember that because like now you say like villains come out. You got to figure out how to put it in the movie. And I remember, I think there was a ticket, but I don't really remember
something
the movie
to do
at
with
all.
The ticket, a golden ticket.
But you're talking about like how long was it? Like 92 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't seen it since then.
It was a good movie.
I guess it was 5.
Yeah.
Or so.
See, I mean, I liked movies, and they shaped my childhood, but I had a huge imagination as it was anyways, so it was just kind of, it didn't really make any sort of waves in my mind, but I didn't get that until college, until I started watching David Lynch movies and got more into, like, Stanley Kubrick and that sort of thing at the age of where I was in college and, figuring out what the world was and that sort of thing, and that's what started like making my head think about weird scenarios and stuff.
My college experience was just like pro status quo.
Yeah.
Just everything, going to school for business and not really.
Pro quo, Clarice. Quid pro quo.
Yeah, just like that. That's how I was living it. But the entire time in my head, I'm just like, what is all this? But just trying to like mask it without. I know because when I was a kid, my mom said, I don't remember this because I was 3, but she said when I was 3 years old, I asked her what comes after humans because dinosaurs were extinct. What happens after humans are extinct? Mom's like, I have no idea, like at all. So I guess I've been thinking this way because they always say your personality is developed when you're 3. So here I am trying to figure out what reality is at 3 years old, and then watching these movies. And then I really give credit to Quantum Leap and Sliders.
Oh, yeah.
I think I mentioned that before.
I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Quantum Leap, yeah.
But I don't know really the stuff that I watched in college. I don't remember what stuff I watched in college.
See, I always
Mighty Boosh, I think, was that. I watched the Mighty Boosh.
Oh, yeah. I'm old Greg!
Yeah. I love the Mighty Boosh.
Yeah, that was a great show, but I didn't get into movies. I mean, I liked movies the whole, my whole upbringing, but I didn't really get into looking into movies and really digging them until I was in college.
Yeah, because maybe college is probably Quentin Tarantino for me. I just went through like Jackie Brown, and then I haven't.
That was all after college for me. I didn't really get into him until right after college.
Really?
Not that I mean, I'd seen movies, but I just didn't. It didn't resonate with me at the time.
Yeah, I guess maybe because Inglourious Basterds was coming out during that time.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh, I really like that. But I also liked Kill Bill when it came out too. But I was in high school when Kill Bill came out.
I love Kill Bill. That's Mercedes' favorite movie, I think.
I like Kill Bill because the second one, it's just only Bill that dies. Nobody else dies.
Is that true? Really?
Yeah. Because that one girl, what was her name?
The one that gets her eye plucked out?
Yeah, she gets her other eye plucked out.
Yeah.
And she just leaves him there.
Yeah.
Or leaves her there, I mean. You don't really get to see her ever actually die. So the one you actually really see die is David Carradine. He just like
that's
walks
true.
and then
Drops.
yeah, just immediately drops.
Yeah. That's weird. That's crazy.
The whole soundtrack to that
Yeah.
movie, like the first one especially.
I've been watching, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but I've been watching the X-Files a lot lately.
You're saying that.
Yeah.
Mercedes actually was telling me about the poop one, or did you guys just like?
Oh yeah, it's this episode where there's this creature monster that lives underground in the sewer system, and it lives in, I guess, like septic systems or like the sewer. It came in through a Russian boat through the ocean through some sort of pipe or tunnel or some shit like that. But then he gets out. They find this creature, and it's got like a leech-looking mouth. It's really fucking gross looking. But he gets out of. They find him in the tube, and they bring him to jail or bring him to some sort of holding facility because he's been killing people. People fall in the water, and then he bites their back, and then they have like worms growing out of them, and they die and stuff. It's gross. But they're transporting him, and he's in an ambulance. And he breaks off of the bed, and then the guy who's driving it comes around and he kills him. And then in order to get back to the sewage system, he crawls in and gets in the toilet of a Johnny on the spot and just waits there. And then the next day, the guy that vacuums the Johnny on the spot comes and and he gets stuck in the thing. And then he goes back they take him back and then empty the Johnny on the spot truck into a thing. And then he gets back in. It's so gross.
Dude, it sounds absurd.
Yeah, it's so disgusting. By the way, did you know that people that suck up the shit in Johnny on the Spots, they make like $50,000 a year?
Do they?
Yeah. That's more than a college graduate entry-level job.
Yeah. But
And
it's literally a shit job, though.
Exactly. I think trash men make around that, too.
Well, I think anything that... Because if you honestly think they're going to have a job you're behind a desk, just pushing buttons. You're not going to get $100,000 a year.
Right, for putting up a fucking rank stank.
Yeah, you're cleaning out poop, dude. Like, of course you're going to have way more money, like being...
That's literally a bullshit job.
Yeah.
Right,
a human.
A human shit job.
I would never want to... I always used to drive... I don't know, it's in like... It's headed towards St. Louis, but it's just like this garbage dump, dude. I could not imagine just driving.
Are you talking about if you're coming from Illinois to St. Louis?
Yeah.
To St. Charles, it's on the left.
Yeah.
Right before the bridge.
No, not that one. I'm talking about from Illinois, and it's on the right side. Yeah.
That's not the one though that they think there's like nuclear waste under it.
They're no. They actually made a documentary about that.
Yeah.
Like,
What's that called? Like,
I don't know, but it's gonna blow up.
Yeah.
It's gonna all the.
It's in North County.
Yeah, that's just gonna. And then people were getting sick. Did you hear that too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, that bullshit job. But back to bullshit jobs. Yeah, just received the book today, The Bullshit Jobs by David Graeber. Highly recommended.
There's also a video on YouTube where he talks. This is before the book came out.
Oh, so it's about the same thing?
Not necessarily the same thing he's going over. He's just talking about. It's like some interview. It almost seems 60 minutes type, but it's not 60 minutes. And he's just talking about there's gonna be this is maybe a few years ago, and he's talking about there's gonna be a rude awakening in the business field of these mindless, pointless jobs.
Right.
And he's like, he's talking about how this is in the video, how he's talking or saying that people don't feel satisfied in their job because they're worthless.
Right.
Basically.
Well, that's that video you sent me. I posted that on our Twitter.
Oh yeah, the strange mystery one.
Yeah, strange mystery. But when it talks about how there are other countries that are kind of experimenting with it, where it's kind of like the government will give you a certain amount of money and you can go do whatever you want. And it's if you think about it, we've been doing that for years, paying people unemployment or social security and that sort of thing. But it's when you're old or disabled, and it's kind of like, well, why can't we all just do that?
Well, yeah, because somebody has to make the money.
Right. Yeah. All the billionaire jobs, or just get rid of money.
Yeah.
In general, which I mean,
that's what I was thinking. Like, just if somebody has housing, you just live in a house, and then you don't have to pay for any of it.
Right.
And
you
then,
just do the upkeep.
Yeah, and then the food, you just give people food.
It would just put the world as we know it, though, in a tailspin.
I was thinking about why the entry-level jobs just get paid. Like, I always say that the minimum wage of corporate jobs is like $30,000 a year. I think it's because, like, there's double people. So if you go back, I have no idea if this is true or not, but if you go back to like the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, that they were making like our figure money today, 60,000, whatever like it was back then. I don't know for inflation or however it would be back then. But yeah, we have double the people, so that's why we're getting half, you know, and we're not doing anything.
Right.
So instead of spending 8 actual hours of doing something, we're spending 4 doing something.
I worked for 2 hours today. Real hard work, and I sat there for 6.
Yeah, doesn't that just drive you crazy?
Yeah, and in that video it says that even some people, I can't remember if it's like Finland or Europe or somewhere, but they're knocking it down to 6 hours a day. And I was thinking about that the other day. Yesterday, I was sitting at my desk, and it was 3 o'clock, and I was like, my body is ready to be done here. My body naturally is like, because everyone always says the last 2 hours go by the slowest, the last 20 minutes go by the slowest, and it's because our bodies are I think that's their natural circadian rhythm or whatever it is. Well, no, that's sleep, but their natural.
But you can still apply that to your time, your body's time.
Oh yeah,
you can
yeah,
still do that.
yeah. So it's like your circadian rhythm of, okay, I woke up at 8. It's 3 o'clock. I'm fucking done. You know, but that last hour, because if you got to leave at 3, you got home, you would still have energy. You might still be able to get something accomplished. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I realized yesterday that at 3 o'clock, I was like, every day at 3 o'clock, I'm just like, man, I got to get out of here. But I think that it's because our bodies have 6 hours. So why not just make the workday 6 hours? What is the extra 2 hours at the end of the day?
I don't know. Like, why do they want you to just sit there?
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Yeah. And like today it was 4:30 and I was like, I'm just going to leave. I'm just going to start leaving and start, you know, if this is stupid and pointless, I'm just going to leave. If they say something, I'll be like, well, I don't have anything to do, you know?
Yeah, so what that dude was saying, David Graeber, is that how you pronounce his last name? He was saying that, because I did listen to one review of the book, I think, where a girl goes to her boss. It was either a girl or a guy, but I remember the story.
And Duncan Trussell talks about
okay,
that.
yeah, and he's like, shh, don't tell anybody you have nothing to do.
Right. Yeah, Duncan Trussell said that.
I think the majority of the people, I used to do roofing from like age 13 to 17 with my dad. Like, when you worked on a roof all day and you're just like hot in the sun and you worked for, 12 to 14 hours and you get your money, you actually feel like you earned it. You don't have
hard work.
You don't have time to think about, like, am I worthless here? But then when you have, half that time, 7 hours, let's say I was 14 hours, 7 hours, you're sitting there for probably more than 50% wondering, what am I doing with my life? Like, when you go home, you feel like you didn't accomplish anything, and your body's just like kind of feeling lethargic and everything,
Right.
So I don't know. I don't understand the point of why we have to do all this stuff. I really like that video I sent you, which you said you posted, right? Which is are humans becoming meaningless,
right,
or worthless? I mean, I kind of agree. It's not like on the sense of us being worthless. It's just we're building stuff up without realizing what's going to happen to what humans are going to be doing. If you really think about it, if we can kind of all be on the same idea of this, is we're all moving towards something where we can have leisure time, like what you're saying Macaulay Culkin has, where we can go visit the Grand Canyon or Machu Picchu. We can go visit that stuff because everything is automated. Absolutely everything you want is automated.
Right.
It's not a bad thing. It can be bad.
Right.
But I don't think, like, the whole idea is to explore this world. That's what humans did, and that's how we got across all these continents, is exploring the world. Now we don't. We don't explore anything.
The idea of work from, when you get out of college, work 40 hours a week, 8 hours a day, work really hard until you're, 60, and pray you don't have any health issues when you're 60. But when you're 60, then you can start going and seeing stuff and do stuff that you worked for. It's like, oh, let me put in all this work so then I can go see the world or travel or not
you're
work.
Too old though.
Yeah, and then it's like, well, then you're 60 and your fucking knees are blown out because you've been, pushing stuff around, or you have arthritis in your back and you can't climb a mountain then, or your fingers don't work the same way. You can't hold things.
They want to get the best years out of you. I was talking to
Yeah.
my roommate today about this, about the 401k. Okay, so let's say by the time you retire, let's say you start working at 25 and you put in 50 years of work and you retire at 75. And let's say you just put in the entirety of it, $50,000, right? So when you retire from now, 50,000 when you're 75, you have $50,000. Now just think about if you had medicine that cost you every year $5,000.
Right.
You're only gonna last like 10 years with that,
Right.
401k,
Right.
and that's just saying you only have medicine, and you're just, I'm talking about being 75. I'm not talking about like even in your
Yeah.
60s. I'm talking about being 75, where you're like, was the age, probably the death age will be a little higher then.
Right.
Or
If you
is-
take care of yourself.
Yeah, but I think what for guys is 74 years old or so. So even though say you retire at 63, you have 11 years to live your life, and you can't even do anything.
Right. Well, and you run the risk of when you are 60 and you are retired, how long before dementia kicks in, or how long before you start forgetting and you're
Yeah.
not fucking there anymore,
Yeah.
and you're not even the same person when you're 20, 22. Your mind is, it's just a sponge. You want to see everything. You want to learn everything. You want to, you're trying to figure out who you are. And then obviously we're 30 and we're on to a new step where we're expounding our existence and our search for what is real and stuff. When you're 60, you're probably not going to want that anymore because you're so damn you just worked 40 years and you're tired and you're like, all I want to do now is just sit there,
Yeah, because what I was thinking is, okay, when you're in your 20s, you're trying to figure out who you are. And then when you're 30s, you're like, okay, I need to explain who I am. I'm this
Right.
creative person,
Right.
or I'm this or that.
Or it's your second revamp, because you got the bullshit job when you were 22.
Your prefrontal cortex kicks
Yeah,
in.
you worked that, and then you're 30. You get closer to 30, you get a little older, and you're like, oh shit, this sucks.
This is what life is?
Yeah.
The thing is I don't get is, how do people make it past that and they just stay at those jobs? I think what it is, like, they just settle on like everything in life, right?
Yeah.
So they have like maybe 3 or 4 relationships and they just settle, like, oh, okay, this is the one. They get 3 or 4 jobs, like, this is just the one I'm going to settle at. And then you realize when you're like laying on your deathbed that you just wasted all your life. You had
Right.
one life as who you are.
Right.
I'm not going to talk about afterlife or anything like that, if that is, plausible or whatever. But you had one life and you just completely wasted it on, unless you really wanted to do that. Like,
Right.
if your job was to, or no, I'm sorry, if your life, actually the meaning of it all was to work these meaningless jobs and you actually found meaning in it, good for you. Like, I'm not that way at all.
Right.
I want to see things and I want to experience things, because when I'm 70, I have no idea what it's going to be like when I'm 70, but I don't want to look back and be like, man, when I was, 40 or 50, where I was actually capable of doing something, or even 30, I should have done it.
Right. I just think that it's time. I think and I know that I always talk shit on social media about it. This will be maybe my one thing about, well, there's obviously lots of positive things about social media and the internet. One positive thing, though, is I think that it has been very beneficial for people to figure out what it is that they want to do. It's helped them wake up a little bit and be like, hey, because they see someone, in London or Paris, and like, oh man, I want to go there. Whereas before they wouldn't have seen that. So now they have a drive, and then they get that little tick in themselves like, well, why am I working this job where I come and I just bang my head against the desk for 8 hours? I go home, I'm tired, I drink, I fall asleep, I wake up, I do it all again the next day, again. And then on the weekend, I go crazy party Friday night. Saturday, I wake up, I have regret because I'm hungover, but I rally because, we're going out partying Saturday. I do that. And then I wake up Sunday and I spend the whole day planning how I'm going to reset to the next week.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
like
old
Groundhog's week, man.
Yeah, that's the old way of doing it. But now people, the positive thing, it's like kind of like a group camaraderie. Like, oh, well, we were in Chicago last weekend or something. And you see a picture of that, and like, oh shit, I want to go to Chicago. So then you go to Chicago, thus you are more happier.
Yeah, and I will say too, the good thing about social media is, if let's say you are taking that trip to Chicago, and you only know one location, you can get on.
Oh yeah.
And maybe ask people,
Yeah.
or even just type in top restaurants to go to, or
Right.
top shows to see, like things like that,
Right.
which is kind of cool. And then same thing for like the whole podcasting thing. I really like Sean Carroll, and then I listened to him on the Joe Rogan Experience, and then he's like, yeah, I have my own podcast now. And then the first one I listened to was Carlo Rovelli, who those the books I was talking about, like what is reality, or I can't remember the name of the book now. Well, one of them is Order of Time. That's his newest one, which I heard Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be doing the audio.
Oh, I saw that. Or I heard that in maybe that podcast or something, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was in the Carlo Rovelli one. But like now it gets me more access to listening to people that are kind of like-minded or things that I'm interested in, like learning things and everything, rather than just because there is always going to be a dark side to absolutely everything. But if you just kind of navigate through it, then like if you're sitting at your job and you're listening to these podcasts or researching things or talking to people,
you're waking up.
Yeah, to get out of that. Because I really think that as time progresses, you'll start, the whole bullshit will just be kind of be shown. You know, like when they talk about like, you know, certain like where they do the MDMA treatments for people who have PTSD. And like MDMA is just this awful drug that eats holes in your brain. Right. And they actually do research on it. It's actually helping people out. Like the whole facade of trying to control us. Well, is kind of being revealed.
The same with marijuana and psychedelics in the same camp that you're talking about. In this, in I believe it was 64-ish, 62-ish when they banned, you know, marijuana, and there was the whole war on drugs thing. It's because people were figuring out, oh man, I can be free and easy, and I can be who I want to be, and I don't have to wear shoes, and I can, if I'm a man, I can dress like a woman, I can express myself. That was a sign of people being who they are and being happy. So they're like, oh, we can't allow this because it was illegal back then. So they put the kibosh on that, and then now, you know, there's this sort of, you know, renaissance of the social media and people seeing other people being happy and stuff, and it's like, okay, now wait, we don't have to do this 9 to 5. We can break out of the mold, and I can be who I want to be, and I can go do this, and I can go do that. What's funny to me is at the same time that this kind of revelation that people are having, like, I don't want to work a 9 to 5, is also the time where marijuana is becoming legal everywhere, or, you know, working on it, you know. Missouri just voted today on making for medical marijuana, which is in the step of the right direction, you know. And then in California, they're trying to get mushrooms for medical purposes. Same with MDMA. So I think that is kind of shows a positive. The world, or at least our part of the world, is moving in the right direction, but because it's all kind of happening at once, you know what I mean? But it's still, there's just still so much bullshit with the social media and the negativeness and all that kind of thing. But I think that it is good for people to kind of realize that there is more out there, that they don't have to be, you know, a sheep in a cubicle working a banking job or doing whatever sort of thing they're doing. They can do something else, you know. I mean, as much as I disagree with someone getting paid for just taking Instagram pictures, I think it's a fucking waste of money. And but at the same time, it's a catch-22, because it's like, well, you're basically paying to travel the world, take pictures of yourself. Good for you. You know?
Yeah, they found a way out.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they were working a desk job and they're like, well, I have 1 million followers and now I have sponsors, and you know, and that sort of thing, which I think it's kind of a twofold, you know, positive and negative.
I do think though that like once you start doing something that you actually love doing, that's providing you money, it actually becomes a more difficult job than if you just sat behind a desk. Right. Because then you have to, like, let's say if you become just a novelist and you write one novel, and it takes off. And I'm not saying like New York Times best-selling, but it just takes off, and you can actually make that a career. Well, now you have to write novels. Right. I'm not saying that like, oh man, I have to write novels now, but now you have to put in work and, you know, research things and kind of like expand what it is. But it's way more rewarding. Right. I guarantee if you ask anybody who's doing something for themselves, because a job's going to suck regardless of what it is, what you try to find out is what job sucks the absolute least for you to do. And if it is, you know, going around taking pictures, because I bet you, you know, maybe let's just say it's a guy that goes around on Instagram and takes pictures of himself at different locations. He had this specific location planned out, and then there's a tsunami coming, and now he can't do it. You know, that sort of thing. I know you're like, oh, well, boo-hoo for that guy. But no, that's his livelihood type of thing. Or it could just be like a girl who needs to, I don't know, she's sponsoring different outfits, and she's, you know, trying, like, being a model for them, and then there's a defect in one of the things. I'm just saying there's always going to be problems in no matter what you kind of do, but it's all about mitigating the worst possible scenario that you would want to be in for a job. And I don't mean like, maybe catching crabs or whatever. Like that seems pretty bad, but but like if you don't like sitting behind a desk,
Right.
find something else. And here's another thing. It's like if you enjoy making music and it's just you enjoy, let's say, making 90s grunge style music, taking other artists' music and then making it into like my roommate was showing me this dude that just takes like he took a Drake song and he took a Post Malone song and made him into like an 80s version of it. It was brilliant, dude. It sounded just like the 80s music. It's like, okay, you can never make money on that. But what happens if like a TV show or a movie needs music that sounds like the 80s?
Right.
They would hire this dude if he's got like 20 million followers on whatever.
Right.
And this guy is actually making music. They would probably just hire him.
Well, I think that's how Girl Talk. I don't know. He obviously I don't think got famous because of social media. I think I'm not really sure on how he got famous, but he was like a super smart biologist and was just mashing up all these different songs and blew up like that. But he was the only person doing it at that time, kind of like you're saying. But I think that the whole thing about the 9 to 5, it works for some people. Like I work with some people that love web development. They love web development. They don't care about being in the desk from 9 to 5, And I will say that I would much rather be doing this than what I did in my previous job, dealing with the general public. But at the same time, I think that for creative people like us, it's hard to feel, and maybe not even to say creative people like us, but I feel like people who want more or who have a drive to do something, to feel like you're imprisoned and to feel that you can't do what you want to do at any moment of that day. Like if I'm just sitting at home doing nothing, watching TV, and a musical idea pops in my head, I can start, I can turn around and start banging it out and working on the song, that sort of thing. I can't do that in the office. I have to wait until it's 5 o'clock, and
then inspiration's gone.
And that inspiration is gone. So there's two sides to the coin. Obviously, sometimes it works for people, and that's what they want. And maybe that 9 to 5 is the stability that provides them with the money that they have for their boat, and they love going out on the lake every week and that sort of thing. But I just feel that there should be some sort of more of a choice and more of an easier choice for people, for creative people, artists, and that sort of thing. More of a feasible choice to make money doing those sorts of things as opposed to feeling tied down to that.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I always feel that the 9 to 5 structure, personally for me, is like modern day slavery. You get a house to live in or an apartment, and you get food. Yeah. You just have to be at this place, and they tell you when your breaks are. We've talked about it before, but it was created in the 1920s by Henry Ford to make you go out and spend money and that sort of thing, which is fine. But I think that was in the how many things did we create in the 1920s and that are not around anymore? They're just gone. You know why? Because they're fucking outdated. Yeah, I think it's an outdated system for sure.
And so is this whole 9 to 5, 40-hour a week thing. It's like it needs to be revisited. And I think that people are, individuals are making it for themselves, not the system in which they're going to live in, by their own means. Like for this podcast, for us, our hope is that it gets to a point where it could sustain us financially, and we could do this. We could talk. We could work on our art, that sort of thing.
With that, I think that what they tried to teach us and instill us is one job, have only one source of income. That is like a poor mentality. Like poor in monetary value. Right. Because if let's say you have podcast and you have your music, there's two sources of income for you. Right. The whole idea is to have, if you really want to be, I'm not saying like rich, but well off, is how detrimental does it feel when you lose that one job you have, right? But let's say
you have nothing else.
Yeah, but let's say you have a writing gig, you're doing music and you're doing podcasting, right? And one of them falls through, you still have income coming from two different sources. That's the whole idea. That's why people who when they get money, they invest into certain types of real estate for like renting, because that's a source of income. Right. But they don't want you to do that. They want you to have one job that pays you good benefits. Here's the thing with benefits too, is like, oh, it has really good medical. Like No, it doesn't. What they're doing is giving you discounted medical. You're still paying for it.
Right. And they're also making you buy back into the same monster that's feeding, or, that's controlling everything. Because the person, if you trace any company up the ladder, not every company, but most, so like my company is, I don't know who it's owned by. It's owned by probably 4 people, the executive board or whatever. So they own the company, but the healthcare and all that sort of thing that they bring in are hands from, the people up top that are reaching in everyone's pockets. It's all connected somehow or another to those, those 4 to 7 umbrella things up there that control, most of what we consume and what we see and that sort of thing in the world. So it's just a regenerative, recycle. But if you break that, if you're someone like what's his face who started Virgin, I'm sure now he's hanging out with those dudes, but in the beginning, if you start like your own thing and you're against it, or you get lucky and you can sell it off to one of them, you can do your own thing at that point. But I just feel like it's I don't want to say it's too hard to get to that point, because that's kind of like whiny, but it's just, I just think that there needs to be a better system.
Yeah. Also, I think people have no idea, like in my last job, where we're just working, mindlessly over doing the dumbest shit possible, is if everybody, I think total there was like 17 of us, if 16, 15, even 14, or like maybe even like 13 or so, I'm not gonna go through all the numbers, but if we all just got up, like the vast majority of us, 85% of us got up and said, we're not doing this unless you pay us more money. Like, this is just ridiculous. Cut our hours or do something, because
Right.
we were working tons of overtime for nothing.
Right.
They would have to give in to our demands, because we're the only ones that know this program.
Right. I think to put that on a more grander scale, I think that if every 9 to 5 or 40 hour got together and just everyone every day left at 2:00, everyone just got up and left at 2:00. What are
They can't fire all of you.
Yeah.
But if one person doesn't, they can fire that one person.
Yeah, exactly.
And switch one gear. But see, that's the whole idea, is that the machine is the sum of its parts. Like, what part of a car is the car itself? It's all the parts that make the car, right? And let's just say all the
oil,
parts,
the
right?
gas,
Everything. They decide to leave. You don't have a car anymore.
Right.
But if you have, let's say, one tire decides to leave, you just replace that tire.
Exactly. And the whole thing is too, is if you do that, if everyone all agrees, if all the 9 to 5ers, 40 hours agree to get up at 2:00 and leave, there's going to be a thing, then they're going to it's just like a protest. I don't want it to like sound like a protest, but if you do it, they're going to listen, they're going to answer. And I think that I would be fine with leaving at 2:00 every day, because then I would feel motivated to come home and work on my music, still pay me the same amount of money, but you wouldn't feel so lifeless and so dead and so, defeated. If you got to leave a little earlier and you felt that, because it really only takes you about that amount of time to actually do your said job. And obviously there's always, as I always preface, there are always exceptions to these things that we say and that I say. But
some people would just want to work there for 14 hours.
Yeah, and that's fine. But there should be some sort of system to benefit them,
Yeah, I don't understand that either. It's like, because in my last job, one girl, she wanted to do overtime constantly, right? And she kind of made up the overtime so she can work overtime, because she had nothing else going on, apparently, I guess.
Right.
And I hated overtime. So why not give her more of my hours? And because technically we're kind of like hourly. I would gladly take a slight pay cut just to get the fuck out of there. Like, give her more. She clearly wants more hours. I don't want more hours. Why can't you have a system of, okay, well, let's say you have 5 employees, and they're each doing 40 hours a week, right? So what you really need is the job itself to have 200 hours.
Right.
So what if one person wants 10 and the other person wants, 30 and the other person wants 60? I can just all add it up. Why can't you do that? Then you each get paid accordingly.
Yeah.
Like, why couldn't you do that?
Well, or why couldn't you just, I just think that it would be so easy for corporations, for the people in charge of making the decisions at 9 to 5 just say, yeah, just leave at 2. Make sure all your work's done at 2. Leave. We'll still pay you the same amount of money. What is it going to hurt?
That's the whole idea of salary. And when people take a salary job, they think that, oh, I can just leave, whenever and all that. No, they're actually fucking you.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be that one day where you have to work till like midnight.
Right.
And they get their money back.
Yeah.
That's why
it's just it's such a silly head banging concept, because you just think about it, and the more you think about it, the more inflamed you get with it.
Yeah.
And the more how silly it is. Like I said today, I was just sitting there like, yep, I gotta be here. Oh shit, it's only been 20 minutes since I last looked at my watch. Oh, I gotta be here for another 7.5 hours, that sort of thing. And I don't know. If I didn't have a bunch of stuff to pay for, if I didn't have to pay for a house or whatever, I wouldn't do it. But unfortunately, that's the system in which we live in.
I was gonna say, yeah, those are the entrapping things.
Yeah.
They want you to get that. They actually probably now if there's a social structure to where you should be going next, it's marriage and kids, dude. So you can just get further into debt. So you can't do anything that you actually want to do in life.
Right.
Because how do you cripple somebody? It's just. But what happens if you're just like, I'm not paying it? Like I was thinking about that today. Is like, if I, oh, jeez, that startled me, dude. I moved my hand. Is if
it's all right. Only Mercedes is watching, anyways.
Okay, but still, like the listeners too. Like,
oh yeah.
I apologize. My hand hit the filter. But it's like, if let's say you don't have insurance, right, and then you break your arm, and you have nothing to your name. All you do is rent everything. What are they going to take from you if you decide not to pay it?
Well, and that's another thing that I've been thinking about is everyone that's in debt and all this stuff. If everyone would just, I'm not going to pay it. What are they going to do?
Yeah, we're going to take everybody's stuff. That's what I'm saying. Is they can do it to one person, but if it's the whole structure of things,
right?
Then absolutely they can't get.
So what'll happen if everyone stops paying their taxes? They'll take everyone's car. Oh, everyone's got to stop working. Then they'll take everyone's house. Oh, it looks like we all got to band together and build little bamboo huts. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I agree. Like maybe not bamboo, because we'd have to like import bamboo.
Well, actually no, because they'd be like, well, we would have to go back to the Stone Age, but that'd be fine, because we would all. How freeing would that be to just say fuck you to the creditors, forget you to the 9 to 5 controllers? I want to think of a hashtag like tagline for getting rid of 40-hour work weeks, like 40 not for me, or fuck you 40, or something like that, like a sweet little hashtag that people can just start spitting out and start a big movement and a big uprising.
Yeah, but what they try to do is like a police tactic, right? What police tactic is when you catch a couple of people together, what you do is you separate them so you can get the real story, and the cops will just lie.
Yeah,
your friend ratted on you, dude.
Right.
They just lie to each other.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of what I do with the 9 to 5ers? Not saying police do this. I'm saying like the companies. They just keep them. Hey, you're doing really good. You're better than Jim down the hall. Like, if you keep up this, you're gonna be.
Oh, dangling the carrot.
Yeah. And then they bring in Jim. Like, hey man, you're better than Tommy over there. Like, if you keep doing this.
Dangling the carrot, man.
And then what they say is, here's the thing I don't get, is like, don't tell your salary to people. Just don't do it. No, tell them what you make. Know everybody's salary. I'm like, what? She's making that much more than me, and she's doing less fucking work.
Right.
Why is that? But what they want to do is keep you, like, they want to make sure you, like, hey, we're on your side. We believe. Because I remember my last job, my supervisor pulled me in because I wasn't buying any of their shit that they were talking about. I was like, the stuff that you're talking about is completely made up. And he's like, yeah, I just want to let you know, dude, that like me, you, and Katie, like, we don't buy into this shit at all. Like, it's not real. I'm like, okay, cool, man. And I thought we had like a little friendship going on. No, he was deceiving me, because then after that he was just spying on me constantly and reporting me to his supervisors, like my director. Like, what are you doing, dude?
Well, it's just the same thing. They have to keep us separated, because if you diffuse the pack and get everyone individual, they're more easy to manage. That's why a lot of corporations, I know from personal experience, they'll dangle the carrot in front of this person and tell them what they want to hear, and then tell this person what they want to hear, tell this person what they want to hear. And then there's this secret between the three, and they're like, well, I can't say anything because it'll hinder my, moving forward and that sort of thing. But if we all work together, they can't control us that way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like, if you isolate people, they're easier to manipulate than if you just band them all together. Like I said, there's some of the parts. What you're trying to do is take each part and just like mess with them.
Right. Well, and they just want to control the money too. They want to make sure that they get all their money, and make sure that they control how much you make to keep an eye on you. You know, they didn't like the man. I'm looking at his name. Oh, have you ever heard the story about Andrew Carlson?
No, I don't think so.
So Andrew Carlson. Well, I'll just preface by saying he's a supposed time traveler.
I think you talked about this last week. Maybe his name. We were
We
talking about dinosaurs having feathers and shit.
Oh yeah, that's a different guy. I think
Okay,
that guy's
okay.
name is like Noah or something. But
Okay.
Andrew Carlson, I forget when it happened. It was probably early or mid 2000s. So he invested $800 in the stock market, and in 2 weeks had $350 million. And of course, he got arrested. People were like, "What in the fuck?" You know, we have this huge insider trading scandal going on. So they find him, they arrest him. They're like, "How did you get this information? Who gave you this information?" He's like, "I'm a time traveler. I'm from the year, 21, 23 or something, and I got the information, got in my time machine, and I came back here. I invested in the companies that he invested in, I guess, companies that were small but we're going to blow up soon, and people say that this is all fake and stuff, but I mean, there's always two sides of the coin. Choose what you want to believe, that sort of thing. But there's tons of articles like from the New York Times and stuff. So this guy invests $800, makes $350 million. In a couple of weeks, they arrest him. He says he's a time traveler. He tells them all this other information and stuff. He says that Donald Trump goes on for a second term. He says that I think it's in 2028 or 2058, something like that. That time travel is or time travel is available for humans, and that sort of thing, or it's made public or something like that. He says then aliens are, full disclosure, we know that they've been here for years and that sort of thing. But anyways, an unknown person pays his $1 million bond, so he gets out, and then he just disappears. And no one's heard anything from him heard about him since, and there was no pre-information on this dude.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah. And I mean, take it for what you want if you want to believe it or not, but there's tons of other stories like that. Obviously, there's going to be bullshit. There's always bullshit, but there's always ones that you're kind of like, man, that if you buy into the whole time travel alien thing, like that very well could be true.
Yeah.
I believe it because, I mean, if the story holds true, what other explanation was there? So then I dove a little bit deeper on YouTube and looked at other time travel videos and stuff, and there's like pictures of people that are clearly from either where we are right now or the future in pictures from the 1940s and that sort of thing. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but obviously when you get into those kinds of topics, bunch of weirdos come out of the woodworks, and there's a lot of oversaturation of bullshit and people just trying to get likes and that sort of thing on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or what have you. But it's really interesting, and the whole concept of time travel is actually, well, not necessarily time travel, but what is it called? Teleportation. So teleportation is possible right now on a microscopic level.
Yeah, I know you can transport, I think, a couple of atoms.
Yeah. So, Anton Zeilinger or something, he can make, so they have like a particle. I think it's a quark. Or no, what's one's that bigger than a quark?
A neutrino?
I think maybe it's just a particle. So they have like one particle, they clone that particle and put that particle, take it from point A, clone it to point B. As soon as that particle appears in point B, that particle in point 1 dissipates. It's gone. And this one it's the same exact structure, same exact nucleus, same exact atom formation, that whole thing. So that is evidence that teleportation is somehow possible in some capacity.
Yeah. Well, if you believe in, there's two different types of theories on what actually time is presentism versus eternalism, and I'm an eternalist, which
Wait,
means
say that again.
There's two different theories on what time is. So you have presentism, which means 5 minutes ago doesn't exist, and 5 minutes from now doesn't exist until we get 5 minutes from now, and then this moment now does not exist. All that exists is the present moment. No past, no future. You can't time travel. And if you believe in presentism, you can't time travel. But if you believe in like a block universe of eternalism, that means past, present, and future all simultaneously exist.
Well, that's kind of like piggybacks on the multi-worlds theory a little bit.
Yeah, I believe in eternalism because I had these weird kind of even when I was a kid, kind of like these thoughts, these memories, these things going on that kind of come true later on in life. Like last week I was brushing my teeth and I had this feeling like, whoa, it was like this is the moment now that I was remembering when I was 13, if that makes sense. Like, oh, I had this weird sort of like feeling.
You kind of have an intrusive thought of what you're doing right now, but when you were younger.
Yeah, so I was like 13 years old. I had the feeling, and it just took years to get to the feeling that I actually experienced. Because I believe that like our minds are just kind of like fluctuating through time.
Right.
Because how do you know if you go to sleep and you wake up when you're 5? How do you not know that? You can't, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right. What if this is all a dream?
Yeah. And then the thing with the whole dreaming stuff is fascinating to me, but like the whole idea of like deja vu. Why do you have deja vu? Is it because you're experiencing a future moment in the present?
I think it's a glitch. I think it's a blip it in the. If you believed in the multi-world dimension, then it would be kind of when you went left and the other you went right. I think that there was some sort of middle decision, and it's kind of like it's like, you know, a mutant choice or a mutant direction of A and B or 1 and 2, and it's kind of it's like 1.5 or it's like in the middle, so it's kind of like you seen a little bit of what
could have been both.
Yeah, or you just seen that moment split off. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole idea too is if there's this one idea I heard it on Strange Mysteries, which is if the multi-worlds, not multiverse, because multi-worlds theory is different than multiverse theory.
Yeah,
is that when you die here, you in this one you just go to another one that you'd actually never die.
You just keep jumping around.
Yeah, because in this reality you died,
Yeah.
but then you go to another multi-world.
Well, I think that I think it's possible that we live in two different worlds simultaneously.
I 100% agree with that because here's the thing, and it was in this book that I'm reading called Your Brain's a Time Machine. They were talking about the methane, right? There's nothing toxic about the actual substance methane, right? And then how it smells bad, right? The actual like molecular like construction of it, there's no scent to it.
Yeah.
It's us putting scent to it that we smell methane, think it's bad, and if we inhale too much methane, it's toxic to us, right? But there's nothing inherently toxic about it. It actually is in itself.
Right.
So the outside world is just what it is. The inside world is how we process things.
Right.
So like, for an example, in the book it says if you smash your finger is actually part of the outside world. It actually isn't throbbing. All that's happening is your sensory organs are doing something inside your brain to give meaning to that feeling of your finger just got smashed. But it actually isn't happening on your finger. It's actually happening in your brain.
Right.
It's just giving a location. And you heard of the experiment with like the fake arm, where like they have like a fake arm.
Ghost limb.
Yeah, and then you can feel the phantom limb. But I'm saying like
phantom limb. Yeah.
Yeah, where you just like, you put your arm behind your back or something, and they put a fake arm, and like they touch your. Let's say you're doing your left hand and they're doing your right hand, touching it, and then they take a hammer and smash your right hand. Your brain thinks that you just got hit.
Right.
So like that's actually an experiment. So yeah, I truly believe what you said is like there's two different worlds going on right now. I think it's external and internal.
Right. I agree with that, and I also think though that you're simultaneously living in two worlds. I think that it could be said true also of the dream world, because how can you have reoccurring dreams? Or I mean, you've probably had a dream where when you realize that you're dreaming, you're like, oh, this place is familiar. I remember this place.
Yeah.
You know, for me personally, I have very lucid dreams, and I become awake in my dreams. I don't know why it is, but I can control them. I can realize what's going on. I can take in a lot of information in my dreams. I can remember a lot of things that translate back into this world, reality. I can remember a lot of things very vividly, and when I start to describe these things from my dreams, I can see the pictures in my head, and they're very vivid, and that's why I think that I don't know what it is. I don't know. Maybe it could coincide with what you're saying. This is the physical external world, and your the finger, that's the physical external, but then there's the internal. So your dream is kind of the internal, because when you're in dreams, there's not really physical properties.
Yeah, laws of physics.
Laws of physics are different than that, because I think that you're in your brain, so that it works a little different. It could be like space. I don't know, because there's no gravity. You can fly. There's the physics of the dream world are really wonky. Really weird things happen. You can't really read.
Do you know anything that's like superstring theory?
Yeah.
Okay, so it explains that to like tons of different dimensions.
Right.
They'd be like the 6th dimension is where
Yeah.
like the laws of physics are slightly different, where we can fly.
Yeah.
That type of thing. It's like, how do we know that that's actually not real? Like what you're saying is maybe we are going to the 6th, the 7th, the 8th dimension.
Right.
Our consciousness, because you can't really measure consciousness.
Right.
All we can measure is here. And I was thinking, like, what if we could somehow, it'd be kind of a cool plot for like a movie or a comic or a story or something, where like you go into the dream world, like what Inception did, but study the mechanics of the dream world itself. Because we try to study the physics of this reality.
Right.
Why not try to study the physics somehow into the dream reality? Like if we can,
In a quantifiable way.
yeah. If like we can hook up, like how do we not know we're sharing dreams with people?
Right.
You know, like of course, like let's say like, you know, when you're a kid, you sleep over at your friend's house, but you're probably not sharing the same dream. But how do you not know, or how do you know that in China somebody's dreaming with you?
Right.
Type of thing, and somehow like get like a whole group of people and like their brain, and somehow, because you're gonna be bombarded with waves, some sort of wave thing.
Right.
And
Well,
then
that's what
put 'em all
string
on the same-
theory is. Because
yeah.
strings are just tiny vibrating strings.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think that's what consciousness is. It's wavelength. And I think that if you think about like a bass wave or a sine wave or any sort of wave, when you turn up the resonance of a wave, it's going to have a different sound than when you turn down the resonance. You know, that's where dubstep comes from. You know, that sort of thing. So so resonance could be, so we're all waves. Consciousness is one single wave. Let's say it's a sine wave. So when you get to the dream state, the sine wave is really slow.
Like slightly distorted.
Yes,
Almost.
yeah, and when it gets really slow, it responds different than when it's really fast.
It's just like a boat on top of still water, as to like I don't know what you call those. What is the tidal?
yeah,
Waters or something
tidal,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah, if you're just going over that, the boat's gonna be like skipping over the water rather than just like gliding into the water.
Right. So it could be like that. Like your consciousness is it is a string. Maybe it is a wave or whatever, but it functions differently in this plane because there's stimulation, because there's different laws of physics. When your eyes are awake and your consciousness is in this state, let's say it's moving really fast, right?
It's processing external information.
So it can bring in all these other waves like light. So light, it interacts with light, and then light bounces off everything else, so you're taking this all in. But then for some reason, these bodies that we have, they can't go 24/7. And the physical, that's why we have to sleep. And so the physical properties of our bodies affect our consciousness because it's connected, however.
Because it creates chemicals.
Right. Yeah. So there's a chemical, so it creates that. So then it shuts it down. It slows the wave down. You know, it's the synthesizer. It's the guitar that is making the sound. Our bodies are.
It's just like if you take some sort of psychedelic. It's introducing chemicals to your brain to produce some sort of different thought pattern or connectivity through it.
Right.
Rather than just because if you really think about it, everything, I'm not going to say like there is certain things that are called specifically drugs, right? But I mean everything. If you consider drug like some sort of thing that alters your consciousness in some sort of way, drinking, caffeine, whatever it may be, everything really is that way.
It's a chemical, yeah.
Yeah, so like when you listen to music, it's going to give you, like, let's say you hate rock and roll music. what feelings are you gonna get when you enter the rock and roll music world, right?
Right.
Like if you put it in, let's say like Led Zeppelin, right? And you put it in and you're just like, I hate this. And you immediately get aggravated. Like we were talking about last week is you can't listen to downer music because it makes you feel down, right?
Right.
How is that not a drug? Or when you read a good story,
Yeah,
it makes you
creates
feel
a
good.
chemical.
Yeah.
It creates a conditioned chemical reaction in your brain based on some sort of experience, some sort of other
Like
chemical
external
reaction.
stimuli outside, yeah.
Right.
So it doesn't necessarily need to be a direct chemical. Let's say, like, of course, if you take, 5 grams of psilocybin, you're going to experience something. That's what Sam Harris always says.
Yeah.
It's going to work. But if you meditate your entire life trying to cut the senses off and narrow your thought, you may not get there. But you can still get there, because if you think about it, you drink alcohol, it's just producing chemicals in your brain. If your brain let's say you did take the 5 grams of psilocybin and nothing happened, your brain doesn't have those receptors for it. It's like
Right.
it's like the reason why ayahuasca works is because they're getting rid of that, I can't remember what it is, like MEO oxidizer or something.
Yeah,
where it's like-
MEAOM oxidase or
Yeah, so it allows your body to absorb the DMT, right? Otherwise, you would just eat an orange and just be blasted off.
right.
That's what I'm saying is, like, your body's making chemicals. All it is just introducing more chemicals to you. So if your body can do it, if it or your brain, and has receptors for it, then you can do it yourself. It's just you have to figure out a means how to get there,
Right.
type of thing.
Yeah, I kind of think about it in terms of music and sound. Waves, a sine wave exists, but it needs an instrument in which to produce the sound. Consciousness exists, but it needs a vehicle in which to express itself, in which to be, quote unquote, heard. So like for a synthesizer, the sine wave already exists, but the synthesizer produces it, and the chemicals are, the resonance knob or the cutoff knob or the LFO filter, or all this kind of things. It makes the wave do different things. It makes it either go really fast or it makes it go really slow. It can turn it into a triangle wave and that sort of thing. And that's what I think. What I'm coming around to thinking is that consciousness is more of a wave, and if I'm pretty sure they haven't proven string theory wrong, but I think they're moving a little away from string theory.
Yeah, Carlo Rovelli, he believes in quantum loop theory. So things are just looped within itself, making up the fabric of our reality.
Yeah.
Because I remember listening to that podcast with Sean Carroll, because that's what his book is about. And he was saying, what if it's both? What if it is superstring theory with quantum loop?
Yeah.
What if it is all of this stuff?
Right. I think it's all. I mean, I'm sure because at the core, strings are waves and the loops are waves. I think it's all just waves, and that's why if someone's on psychedelics, everything seems wavy, because it's just a chemical that's. Maybe it's a chemical that is allowing you to see into the wave pattern, and maybe that's how you kind of can step through, because the waves, if they're not perfectly together, if they're slow, there's going to be rifts in the wave, where you can get into other stuff. Maybe that's how eventually you can time travel, is you control
the frequency,
the wave. If you slow it down, it creates rips in the wave, and then you can somehow get into the wave. You would have to break us down into waves, I think it would more be like, I think for time travel, to put human, if you think about it in terms of particles, like we were talking earlier about teleportation with particles, like the nucleus is like your consciousness, and it's the same, but the atoms surrounding it are the things that change. So maybe the key is to forget about your body. Your body can be reassembled as in its current state, because it's just we can grow ears off rats, so we can recreate that kind of shit. So it's transporting the wave of your consciousness into the next thing, and then your body just dissipates and then comes back into the same state. You take an imprint of it of the current state it was, and then you just put it right back into that form and zap your wave back into it.
Yeah, as you're talking to me about that, I was like, what if there's a way to pause it for a moment to experience? Let's say like you're doing the transposing into Mars, and there's a moment of like 5 minutes where you're simultaneously experiencing both.
Yeah,
life
that
on
could
Mars,
be deja vu.
right? No. I mean, like, so you made a clone of your body, right? And then you talk about the particle earlier, where it just dissipates.
Yeah.
is before your earthly body dissipates because you're transported over to Mars, is there's a simultaneous where you see double.
Oh yeah.
Like you see what is like on Mars simultaneously as you're seeing, and then you're having simultaneous thoughts about each different thing, and then it converges into one once the thing dissipates. Type of thing.
Right.
I think what reality is it's kind of like the crystallizing of light that is manifesting to itself. So like light just, because light can be a particle and a wave, like a wavicle, I think they call it. It's just that. It's just light forming things into something, and then we're just pieces of light.
Right.
Because like
It wouldn't exist if we weren't there to observe it.
well, yeah.
Nothing would exist.
What is that? The Copenhagen theory?
Yeah,
Copenhagen
nothing-
interpretation.
Yeah, nothing would exist if we weren't there to observe it. That's the reason why, like we always talk about the double slit experiment, but it's the most comparable to this concept. Particles act different when they are observed and when they're not observed, right? So it's the same thing with like what you're saying. It's like,
So you exist because I'm observing you.
yeah, exactly. And
You exist yourself because you're observing yourself.
Yeah, and I'm observing myself in this place, but for that, I get so like wishy-washy with it of how I think about it and how I interpret it, but it makes sense. Well, and we've talked about it before. Like, well, Mercedes, I know she's downstairs, right? That doesn't mean that she doesn't exist just because I can't see her right now.
No, it means she doesn't exist at all.
Right. But I think that the whole double slit thing is proof that the waves, I don't know specifically how it works, but I know that it has to do with waves, because when you look at a wave, you're pushing your wave on it so it reacts differently, because it's kind of like, let's think about it like, so water is still, but if you drive through it with a boat, it becomes wavy, or if there's a boat far away, it becomes wavy. So that's something is coming to interact with that specific piece of water in order to make it react a certain way. So things are going to be more stable waves, but then when we project our waves of sight in our consciousness into it, it has to be a wave, because then that's how it makes it respond differently, you know? Because you viewed it and you're resonating, you're a resonance, your vibration, or that's why people always talk about vibration, raising your vibration, lowering your vibration,
your frequency
chakras,
levels,
yeah, all that sort of thing. It's because if you raise it, then I think that could be what coincides with the whole something doesn't exist until you view it, because it doesn't become apparent.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a short break. All right, so we're back.
That's a pretty cool one, dude.
You like that one?
Yeah, I like that one. Will the listeners be able to hear it?
The people that listen via
Podcasting?
podcasting particles, podcasting avenues.
The particle observation report?
We should change the name.
Just constantly change it like what Jefferson Airplane did?
Do they are they the same Jefferson Starship?
Yeah. And same thing for the Jackson 5. They became the Jacksons after Michael Jackson left.
Is that like a way of like is that like a way of like bumping your name like they do nowadays, like people do nowadays? They, in order to get their whatever they post on social media, in order to get it heard, they like commented on it or changed something on it. So is that what people are doing nowadays? Is they just change their band names or something?
Yeah. I guess like back then, it was probably more of the record companies doing stuff, you know?
Do it. The record companies doing
Like John Cougar Mellencamp, John Cougar, you know, things like that. Just because like one record company owns the Jacksons, right? And then one
Right.
record company owns the Jackson 5.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So they had to change their names, but they try to keep it a little similar.
Yeah.
I know that's how Led Zeppelin got Led Zeppelin, is they wanted to call themselves New Yardbirds, but they couldn't use Yardbirds.
Well, you know how Led Zeppelin got their name.
Well, some guys like, oh, that's going to go over well, just like a Led Zeppelin.
You know who that person was?
No, I don't know. If I
Pete Townsend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
Yeah, but
I didn't know that.
They were opening up for The Who, and backstage he's like, "You all gonna go down like a Led Zeppelin," and then they called them. And I would say I would hope that everyone thinks that Led Zeppelin is 80,000 times better than The Who.
My uncle would disagree. My uncle hates
Ugh.
Led Zeppelin, dude.
What?
Yeah, with a passion.
Oh my
Hates it.
God.
So my brother-in-law and I will
He's-
always sing Led Zeppelin songs,
Yeah.
just to irritate him. He thinks they're just overrated, but yeah, dude.
That's
The Who
bullshit.
The Who has good songs. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I like The Who.
Yeah.
But yeah, Led Zeppelin is. Do you ever see the history of rock or whatever? They break down the family tree.
Yeah.
They're like the beginning of the tree.
Right.
They like grows everything. They had everything. Like if you want to listen to like bluegrassy or folk or actually like, heavier stuff.
Going to California, I love that song.
That whole record.
Yeah.
4 is great.
Yeah.
Then they had like psychedelic stuff like Communication Breakdown when they played it live
No
for like
Quarter.
20 minutes. Yeah, No Quarter.
Yeah.
Achilles Heel, I think what
Yeah.
it's called.
Achilles' Last Stand.
Achilles. Yeah. What am I thinking of?
Dude, anyone that says The Who is better is, I mean, they probably like Nickelback too. I love The Who,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, but their songs I just don't feel are as Tommy was a great album, but I don't feel like they're as monumental.
No, yeah. Well, impact wise, yeah, for sure. I think that Led Zeppelin they have tremendous impact. Like even
Yeah.
to, like today,
Right.
like people just. I don't
Well,
know, like,
nowadays you got freaking Greta Van Fleet piggybacking off Led Zeppelin.
see, I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't either. I don't know
because
how I feel.
I love rock and roll. Don't get me wrong. I
Yeah.
love it, but I don't think there's a lot of stuff to say anymore.
Well, and
Like currently,
and I don't think that sounding exactly like an iconic band like that exactly
Yeah.
is a good play.
Yeah, exactly. It's like what it is to me when I first heard them. I guess it was like last year sometime, and my friend sent me a video. It was like, "Hey, dude, listen to this song," and so I listened to him. Like, yeah, that guy sounds just like Robert Plant, and it sounds just like Zeppelin. You know,
Right.
that's exactly what it's gonna be for a little bit. It's gonna be like, oh wow, they sound just like that. Do you really want your band to be that? Oh, you sound like this band.
Right.
Wouldn't you want your band to be completely original and unique? I get that they can't help the dude's singing voice. Like that's how he sings.
Right.
But I don't know. I would not because
Add a piano player or something to switch it up.
yeah,
Or don't arrange the songs just like Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, the whole see that's what I'm saying. Like with the rock thing, we're just like, what else are you gonna say? You know, you have like rock and roll or rock and roll bands. I mean, like AC/DC. I remember when they came out with Black Ice, and it was like a Walmart exclusive
Right.
record, and they're singing about schoolgirl fantasies. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, that's disgusting. You guys are old, way, way old. You know, at some point you gotta lose your shtick. You know, just talk about something completely different.
Sing about being old
yeah, or do something
and
when
having someone wipe your ass for you now.
right. When
Your catheter.
You're in your 60s. It's gross. When you're in your 60s, yeah, maybe that's what you play with. Instead of like the talk thing, you put it in. You just like
A
yeah, you're gargling on it. But I don't know. I just think I like rock and roll. Like I said, I just don't. Maybe in the foreseeable future, it will be. Maybe they're starting a new like renaissance of rock and roll. But to me, it just
There's
seems.
plenty of if I was a good songwriter, I could find plenty of current things that you could still do, like the whole political thing. That's still
Well, yeah, for sure.
it'll never be overly saturated with political.
because political things just change
Yeah,
constantly.
it always changes. But I haven't heard anything meaningful, not like CSNY about like the political state of our, current situation. CSNY wrote magnificent songs about political viewpoints,
It's how I feel about Raising the Machine in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly, like that sort of thing. We'll never see anything like that again, I don't think.
Well, I don't know. It would have to be, I don't know, because like back in the 60s, you had like Bob Dylan, doing his thing.
Well, and I'm pretty sure probably the people that own the record labels now are also the people that own the president. So they probably...
I think everything is just owned by everything. Like, so the record companies own the pharmaceutical companies that own the media companies that own the politicians. Everybody just own, like what you said, there's 4 people.
Yeah.
They're just, the puppet masters of everything.
Yeah, there's like, what's a Rockefeller? What's that other like popular family?
I don't know.
That's getting into like Illuminati shit. Or what people call Illuminati.
I wish the Illuminati was real. Because that means it'd be Doctor Strange, Mr. Fantastic.
What irritates me to no fucking end is when I hear people reference rap in the realm of like Illuminati. When people start talking about Illuminati and Tupac Shakur, I'm like, shut up. No, it has nothing. They were not saying anything. They're not related. The Illuminati in the historical sense is Freemasons, the real people that run the world or the United States, like Rockefeller, or the people who do underground worshiping, weird ceremonies, sacrificial goat shit like that.
Like that, Eyes Wide Shut type of
exactly,
stuff. Exactly,
that's like Illuminati stuff. I don't know these rapper people, and I love Tupac. I don't know why he talked about it, but I hear people sometimes talk like referencing the Illuminati and rappers and this sort of thing, and I'm just like, shut up. You sound so dumb. You don't even know the historical background of the word Illuminati and what it means and what exactly maybe Tupac was even trying to reference. He could have been referencing unforeseen or invisible powers that are controlling things.
Yeah. Or it could be Black Bolt and Tony Stark
No.
and Reed Richards.
I don't think so.
And I can't remember who the last one in the Illuminati is. So it's Reed Richards, Black Bolt, Doctor Strange. Oh yeah, Tony Stark and then Mr. Fantastic. That's the Illuminati.
Yeah.
They shoot the Hulk into space, dude.
Right. Well, the Illuminati would be the people who know about the aliens. They'd be the ones working alongside the aliens if the Illuminati was real.
Well, technically, Black Bolt is an alien. He's an Inhuman.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's some more getting into comic books actually referencing real world scenarios.
Yeah, so part of the Illuminati is an alien. But they say that they're the original race, but they come from a different...
Well, most aliens are,
But they look just like humans.
Oh.
But it's weird because the alien, like this in the comic book realm, the Inhumans can interbreed with regular humans, right? And it only happens when the Targaryen mists activate and you go into this cocoon and you emerge. Sometimes you look completely like one person's just like this giant wooden head, right? Or stone head, I mean. They can transport people because you gain your powers. So you can still look human. Like Black Bolt looks just like a human. It's just his power is the wave frequency of his voice can just destroy everything.
So that's literally what's going on in the real world.
Yeah, real world's a comic book, dude.
Yeah.
That's what I really think, that the real world is a giant comic book.
Well, I think it's all has to do with manifestation and writing down things so many times, and you put so many ideas out there that eventually one of them's going to come true. But I think most extraterrestrials that visit us are us from the future. We just are cruising around, seeing what's going on. I think other ones, though, are from other worlds. Like in Rendlesham Forest, when that happened, I believe it was in the 70s or 80s. I can't remember specifically. But the UFO was shooting beams down into, and this was right around the bomb time. I can't remember what bomb they were making. But they were shooting beams down into buildings because they were checking. They were looking because I think we may have just dropped, when did we drop the nuke? 45? Around that time, 45, 47?
Oh, you're talking about for World War II?
Yeah.
It was like mid-40s.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with history, by the way. Like specific dates
and
stuff.
Oh, shit, I don't remember the dates. I just remember stories. But it was around that time, or maybe, I think it might have been a little later. But anyways, they're just figured out some new weapon, but it was in Rendlesham Forest in England when a UFO. It was a huge sighting. There was like a guy that saw it. He wrote down all the information, like all the signs on the UFO. Wrote it down in his journal. Had recordings. They took the recordings, but he still has this book to this day. He talks all the time on disclosure things, like disclosure meetings, disclosure conventions. And all the signs that they wrote on the I was watching something today. The signs that he wrote down, the symbols that were on the thing were somehow had to do with the coordinates and the mapping of how to get around the world or something like that. But anyways, these things they were checking what was in the warehouses, checking the bombs or whatever, I guess, to see what sort of level we were at with the bombs and whatever. But then have you ever like seen the video of we shoot that test rocket up, and then something comes, like a UFO comes, and it shoots a beam of light into one side, shoots a beam of light in the other side, shoots another beam of light, and then the rocket falls. It basically like disarmed it from going up.
No, never seen that.
Yeah. I'm not sure, but today I kind of had this notion that what if all UFO sightings were never they were never from different worlds or different dimensions. They were all from right here, from us. We've just been super on top of technology for years upon years upon years, and it's just like there's some, some faction of the U.S. government that just is 1,000 years ahead of all of us.
They're just going back in time to observe stuff.
Well, no, I don't even think they're going back in time. I think they're just here. They just have the technology. They probably have cloaking capabilities.
Yeah, because all you have to do is just bend light around you, and then you can just distort the vision of field.
Yeah, but it always makes me wonder. I mean, I don't want to believe that, because I do want to believe that aliens are real and that they come down here and do whatever they're doing. But I think the time is coming. I know it's coming. I can feel it.
Yeah, the thing I wonder about aliens, are they all from the Milky Way galaxy?
No, they're probably from different galaxies. Their galaxy is probably on the other side of a wormhole. A wormhole is probably like, an underground tunnel. You get from, or when you're driving through a mountain and you go through like an underground tunnel through a mountain and you come out on the other side. That's probably what it is. But it's like their galaxy's up here, our galaxy's down here. Like you can't get to China by drilling through the earth, but it's there, but it would take you a certain amount of time to get around, but different amount of time to go through. That's the whole string theory.
Well, and if you took the whole world and folded it on itself, it'd just cross it over.
But that's probably what wormholes are. They're probably like their galaxy's up there, there's a wormhole, they shoot down the wormhole, and then our galaxy's down here. And if they couldn't go around because it's not connected. It's in different planes. It's in different what's the word I like to use? Densities. They're in different densities.
You ever play the game Portal?
No.
It's a game where you have this gun, it's a portal gun, and you make an entry and an out portal. So say like,
is it like a video game?
Yeah. So if you wanted to, let's say you shoot a portal on the ceiling and you shoot a portal on the ground, but they're exactly lined with each other, and you jump through the portal, what would happen is you can reach terminal velocity by going, because you're going through and it pops you out on the ceiling, and you go down, and so you just hit terminal velocity.
Yeah, loop.
Going. Yeah, so you can just do that. And then like if you need to get somewhere far away, you shoot your portal and it goes, say like say you want to cross a Grand Canyon, right? And there's like a building, you just shoot the portal onto the side of the building, and then you can shoot the portal on the ground, jump in the portal, and you pop out.
Really?
Across. Yeah. That's kind of how I view wormholes.
Yeah.
I was using the game as an example of how what you do, because it's like somehow, it's like a mirror effect that you would be able to go in. So like when let's say like I put my finger through the wormhole, it's popping out this side.
Right.
So technically if I had it close by, I can actually touch my head with my own hand. My hand's going through this portal, and in front of me is my head, and it's back here touching.
Right,
that
right.
sort of thing. That's kind of, but you'd have to do it in space.
But I don't even think they know if wormholes actually exist in the capacity to what they think they...
I don't think they do. Because you have to... Here's the thing that I wonder about this fabric of space-time is if you rip it, how do you repair it?
Well, I think if the string theory or waves, whatever, if that holds true, you just you slow the wave down somehow, and then you speed it back, and that makes it come back to close up.
Yeah, well, there has to be some sort of weird thing. Like black holes. What are black holes, dude?
Well,
Like nobody has any idea.
yeah. Have you ever seen like a picture of a supermassive black hole?
Dude, have you seen the videos of showing comparisons to the Earth, to the sun?
Yeah, I
to
have.
a black.
That's my background on my work computer.
It's crazy
Yeah.
how big these things are.
But think
dude.
about it. Look at your eyeball. If you look super in depth at your eyeball looks fucking crazy. Like
Yeah.
certain people's eyeballs, like that are like very radiant or blue or something like that. They look very crazy if you look in depth, and it's almost looks the same as a supermassive black hole.
Yeah, I think a lot. Well, I think a lot of things has like symmetry in, like the whole Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah.
Like that, or why does, a brain scan look like a formulation of a galaxy or
Right.
like nebula or something?
Right.
Like, why does it look like that? Because I think
Yeah.
things just kind of follow a certain specific pattern.
Yeah.
But maybe we're all inside of a black hole, and these are just like little black holes within the black hole, and that's what dark matter is.
Yeah, I don't know. But they, according to the guys that I talk about, the Emery Smith guy, the guy that worked for whatever corporation and worked in underground bunkers working with aliens and stuff, him and this other guy, Corey Good, they both said, and multiple other people, there's this conference going on this weekend that I wish I could have went to. It's called ESETI, but it's in like Colorado. They like come together and it's like they basically summon UFOs or something. They do some vibration raising or whatever. But there's another one going on, cosmic disclosure event or something like that, CDE or something in Colorado, where all these people, all these whistleblowers are coming together and they're going to talk about their stories and like give all their sides of the stories and stuff. But all these people, I think there's like 5 or so people, maybe more, but all these different whistleblowers that worked within these dark factions of the government or the non-government, whatever compartmentalized part of what's going on is, they all have the same stories and they never talked before, or so they say. And they never talked, but they talk about portals, like actual stargates. The one guy who says that he's flown to the moon, that he's been on spaceships to the moon, and he's been in, there's like meetings on the moon, but there's stargates there, and it's just like the show where it's like a big stone thing, and there's like this like gel stuff that, and
I've seen the movie. My dad liked the show. Stargate SG1 or whatever it's called.
yeah. But same concept. But they turn the dial to wherever they're going. I don't know how they control that, but they go inside and then they pop out on other stargates.
Yeah, I think that stuff's so cool. I wonder if like actual Stargate stuff, if they, because here's the thing, like, so let's say you take DMT and you enter the DMT realm, that is real.
Right.
It's real, right? It's real to you.
Right.
How do we know?
Real in the sense that we use the word real to describe what is real.
Yeah, exactly. So like to me, you're just, so whoever is that,
You are.
Yeah, right. So how we know that what they experience is real? So they take a lie detector test and they answer the questions and they pass 100%. It was real to them, but it wasn't actually real in this reality.
Right, because you could lie. You could, if you make yourself believe enough of something, you can pass a lie detector test because you've literally you've reprogrammed yourself. You've conditioned yourself to believe what you say is true.
There's also in the lie detector test. So say for an example, let's say, I don't know, something really stupid that, I don't know, you never ate a blueberry, right? And you believe it because you've never ate a blueberry ever. But when you're a kid, you actually had a blueberry that you weren't aware of.
Right.
You would still pass a lie detector test because you acknowledge that you've never ate a blueberry.
Right. And for so
But actually, that's still a lie because you actually did eat a blueberry.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, people pass lie detectors all the time.
I used a blueberry because I was going to use a really crude. So I wanted to keep it.
Oh, we gotta clean it up. A little bit.
So blueberries.
My dad will be proud of you.
Good. He must have did a sigil.
No, he just said, clean it up a little. I think we've cleaned it up a little bit.
Yeah, we don't talk about stuff.
Yeah.
Blueberries.
There's other
Use your
interesting
imagination.
Stuff. Yeah, there's other interesting stuff to talk about. But so here's back to the Stargate thing. These are the things that would have to hold true about physics and about theories of how you would get to various places of other galaxies, other universes, other dimensions, other pieces of time. A, teleportation would have to exist. You would have to be able to put your body into some sort of form that is on a microscopic whatever small, maybe string. Maybe you're busted into a million different strings and you can shoot those strings, through the fabric or through the waves, That would have to hold true. So breaking your body down, because there's no way that you can. There's no way physically or anatomically that you can transport your body that fast or through, that sort of path. If let's use Mars for an example. You would have you can't shoot your body there, your whole body there, because it would, physics would destroy it. So you would, and so in turn you would literally, so teleportation would have to exist, right? Then also we would have to know how the fabric of time works, because if you dial in whatever date you want to go to, you have to know along the timeline where that date is and how to get there through avenues, through paths of weaving in and out of time. You know what I mean? So those would
It's
have
just like how to get from here to Hawaii.
exactly. So, but then if you break that down and think about, well, on a level, obviously we talked about this before, but we can put a particle from here to here. So teleportation on the most microscopic level, it can exist. Could maybe in 1,000 years we be to the point where we can do it with humans? Possible, right? And then the bending the space time to get there. Well, we already know that's true, because the whole watch theory, if you move close to the speed of light and then turn around and come back, your watches are going to be not in sync with.
Yeah, because time's relative.
Right, exactly. So we already know that's true. So if you exponentiate both of those things by 1,000 in 1,000 years, why would it not be possible? And then, so if someone else is 1,000 years more advanced than us, and they brought it to us, then it would be possible. So I think that the possibility of actually a Stargate being here is pretty possible.
Yeah.
If you believe.
That's one thing, because I said this last time, is if, last week I said, I can listen to it tomorrow. So if somebody's listening to it tomorrow, this podcast, right? I can listen to it 3 years from now. In 3 years, I can listen to it. That's the thing I don't get about time travel, is it based on just what I know. I'm not saying that people are lying or anything like that. I'm just saying, based on what I know, I don't see time travelers. So it just makes me believe that time travel isn't truly real. You can actually never physically travel through time in the sense that we think it is. Let's say, for an example, you go back in time for the dinosaurs. That actually doesn't exist. It's a different.
It's like popping in a VHS. It's almost like, ooh, here's something cool to think about.
It was gonna be really hard for me to explain that, by the way. So I'm glad you took a look.
Oh, so it's it could be like a VR thing, like the Stargate in the future is not actually, you're not actually time traveling. You're just stepping into something, and it's a fucking VR machine. And it because we have recorded history, or we have made up history. So what if, oh man, this could get complex.
So this is what I was thinking. So it's actually not VR, it's VR like. Remember that story you told on the podcast about how you and Mercedes were downstairs and she saw that and she touched your back of your head?
Yeah.
What if that's what time travel is that was you going back to experience that moment again, and you just wanted to see if it was real, and somehow it was like a weird crossing of stuff, but you walked through the Stargate, so you really can't actually affect this reality the way you think
you can only view it.
Yeah, so maybe there's people just walking in and out constantly, but you really can't change it. And then when the Stargate closes, or there's a time limit, or however long it is, you go back and you're just experiencing it how it is, like how you and I are experiencing this conversation now.
Right.
Is going and actually experiencing that, but you actually aren't in a physical form.
Right, you're just there.
And there's somehow, because you actually still exist and you're actually walking around, that there is some weird overlapping between things. Right. So you actually felt that, and maybe that was you in the future.
Right.
Or maybe Mercedes in the future, or somebody,
right.
you know?
Well, what if it's like in the future, like in the year 2132, we didn't actually figure out how to time travel. We just figured out how to, how can I phrase this? We just figured out how to grab what happened and look at and view it. Like maybe we can't jump back on the timeline, but we can see what happened. So then we devise a machine that we can view it in, and it looks real, but we're not really there. So you're not technically time traveling. You're not jumping back in time. You're just
See, okay, that's what I was going to. I don't know how to explain it, but that's what I mean. So you can go back to the dinosaurs, right?
right.
But you're actually not messing with it.
Right. You're
in a
just
sense.
viewing it.
Yeah, but you're viewing it in like what you
Current
would view
time.
in virtual reality, but it truly is back in time.
Right.
You can't. Does it make sense at all?
Yeah. No, it does make sense. Or what if in the year 2132, the four monsters that run the world, they lie, and they say we figured out time travel. Come on, guys, we can all. You can come for $2,000. You can go back in time and see your grandma marry your grandpa. But somehow they figured out through all this shit how to tap into our past and everyone's past, so they know every single person's past pictorially because they got to get in there somehow. And you're not paying to time travel. They just created this thing, they call it time travel, but it's really just a VR machine that you pay to hop in and think you're going back in time, and that's why you can never experience it, and that's why there's been all these weird things that have happened along the way.
It's almost like a Matrix-like reality.
Right. Like maybe the night that I felt like piggybacking on what you said about the hand, maybe that night was something significant happened with me and Mercedes. Maybe a feeling we both were like, all right, you're the one, you know? So then our great grandchildren in the super distant future, they say, oh, I want to go back and see when my great grandma and grandpa fell in love. So then they came back into that time and it was them, you know, or
so not necessarily just you, it's just generations down the line.
Yeah, they can go back and view stuff, and that would explain right now why there's like weird little things that happen, like I was talking about earlier in pictures where there's people from now. Maybe those are just like.
Well, did you get to that point in Invisibles yet where that happens?
It's not in. I'm up to like.
Because I know you said you're rereading it again.
Yeah,
or reading it back again.
Yeah, London something.
London Fog.
Yeah.
Okay. When you get to that point, remind me, because what you just explained there with the pictures and not physically being there, but somehow being there, be able to capture.
Yeah.
It's explained in the Invisibles.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what if we have pictures now and videos to experience our past, but in the way future, there's some other way, and that's what time travel is.
I think that's what time travel would be, more so than you go back and just fuck the whole timeline.
And that's why the VR thing is becoming big right now, because that's going to play a role in
the creation
of apparent time
travel. Would you
travel.
do it?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
I think it'd be kind of cool to go back.
So if that theory holds true, if that theory were to be correct, though, then, or not theory, sorry, a hypothesis or a thought. But if that was true, then the whole time travelers coming back would not be real. The guy, unless that was it, and it was like a VR thing, and you came back in time, but someone figured out how to actually inject themselves,
like manifest
into that. So then that brings on a whole nother realm.
It would just be like a hack of it, though.
Yeah, exactly. But so deja vu. So what deja vu is now is some sort of side effect of the VR thing in the I mean, if that were to be true, it would bring on a whole mess of like different ponderings.
Yeah, I like that though. I actually really, because I've been trying to figure out time travel for a long time.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that idea, as you go through like a Stargate or something, like a weird. I feel like a membrane version of like water, but you don't get wet. That's how I view it.
Yeah.
Viewing it in my mind, and then you're into whatever you choose. 97, right? Like February 7th or something, you know.
Right.
And then you go there and you experience it, but you're not tangibly there, but you are tangibly there.
Right.
And you're experiencing what that's like. You can go see concerts and stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, that'd be a lot of like. Just thinking about it, like you want to go see Jimi Hendrix at like Woodstock, you could be there.
Yeah.
And experience.
But
it.
how would they extract all the memories and stuff to perfectly recreate?
See, I don't think it would be memories. It'd actually be true 100% locational time travel. Like you're actually going to 1969. Like you're actually going there. It's not a formulation of everybody's memories or a
Yeah.
stitched picture. It's actually you're going there. It's just you don't actually physically exist. It's just
Oh, I see.
it's kind of like what man, I can't remember his name of it. What is it called? The movie or the story with Scrooge, and he goes back.
Oh, A Christmas Story or A Christmas Carol?
A Christmas Carol. It's just like that. How
Yeah.
he goes back in time.
Yeah.
But he can't affect it. But
Right.
he's actually physically there. That's what I'm talking about.
Right. So
And
scientists.
same thing for the future. We could go into the future and see it. We can't physically affect the future.
Well, see, in order to do that, the what is that theory called? Determinism.
Determinism, where like everything is just already.
Yeah, that would have to hold true.
Well, same thing for eternalism too.
Yeah, but I feel like with that, maybe in the future, scientists could very well, we could figure out actually how to look behind us and see the tail end of what happened. Somehow we could view that, or through whatever recording ways that we've come up with at that time or whatever. We could look back, so that would be attainable. But in order to look in the future, it would have to be, that the determinism theory would have to happen.
Still, I'm gonna still go on the past. I'll go in the future here in a second. But if they did create that in the way that we described it, you could truly figure out what happened. Because you can go back to the beginning.
Oh yeah.
But the universe is so small that I don't know if you could make it.
Yeah. What if the
And then if there's like an ability to fast forward it and actually see like the bang.
yeah.
And just like, or the great expansion.
Well, what if there's parameters though? Like if it's it's like saving something. You can only save until you first started, but so you
Yeah.
can't see past.
maybe Earth? You can't go past the creation of Earth. I don't know. And my idea is you can actually see it, because that's what I would do if it was in the future and I'm like 100 years old and I was like, I want to go see the origins of the universe
Yeah.
and speed it up like every million years is a second. So I can just like whoosh, and then just like, things wrap around.
Right.
That'd be so cool, dude.
Yeah. It would be. I think that's probably how it's gonna happen. But you could look into the future though. I think, because if the many worlds theory is right, then you're not. So you could actually see the past, but then you could also see alternate pasts. But maybe in other densities things are faster, so then technically you could go to the future because something already happened quicker, so you could go into that future, but it's not going to be the point in which
It's your future?
It's not your future, but it's a future.
A possible future.
Yeah.
I see. I'm not saying like I don't like that theory, because I kind of don't believe in the many worlds theory. I believe in the multiverse rather than the multi-world, or many worlds theory. But I wouldn't want to see that. I like the idea of not knowing my possible futures.
Yeah, and see, I think that I'm the same way. I don't know if
Like,
I
would
would
you-
want to see the future.
Like, would you want to, if they said, we can show you in a matter of 5 minutes 100,000 different versions of the way you die, and unanimously 98% of the time you die this way? Would you see it?
No.
And neither would I, dude.
No, I wouldn't want to. But I would rather go in the. It would be cool to see the past. I would definitely
sure.
go want to see dinosaurs. I would definitely want to go see. My first journey.
Human civilization.
Yeah.
That could
Yeah,
prove
yeah,
things, man.
yeah. My first destination would be Roswell, 1947. I would want to be there the minute whatever that shit that came out of the sky hit was what it was, just to know. Because at this point,
What if it was you?
oh fuck.
Like, you go back in time to see it, and it was you, this ship, because you don't walk through a portal physically. You actually go into some sort of device, right? And it was you that came back and crashed, and they are holding you in 1947, and they have no idea.
This is like comic book sci-fi kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is stuff I'm into.
yeah, but
Like, you are the origin of Alien.
that would be fucked up. That sounds like a terrible trip. Like, because in some psychedelic trips, you get this very when you're super engulfed in the drug, in the chemical, things that happen seem very weird. So, a car crash could happen down the street, right? So let's say you're sitting on your porch and you're under the heavy influence of psychedelics, and a car crash happens down the street. In your mind, you're like, holy shit, there's this car accident, right? So then you go inside, you go about your business, then you're peeking again, and you see on the news about the car crash, and then you're going through the thing, and then when you start to come down from the trip, you realize that your dog got out and the car crashed because it was dodging your dog. So this external thing that happened has a direct relation to you, and at this juncture, it's like it's like spiritual and like heavy into you, because an external thing that you thought nothing but was like significant, and you thought nothing had to do with you, in the end it turns out it does, but you're under the influence, so it's even amplified even more. I don't think I'm giving like a very good example of it. I'm trying to explain the feeling of when you're on psychedelics, the meanness factor or the you factor, and how everything surrounds you, but it also doesn't feel like it's you, but it's like almost like mind blowing when it comes to the end, and it's like,
so it's like the way I kind of am gathering it is, it's you ever seen the 4th season of Arrested Development?
I think so.
Where it all ties in together somehow.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
And it all comes back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. So all these external things happen, but you're witnessing them. But in the end, you realize, oh shit, it's all me. Of course it was, because I was seeing it, and that whole.
You were the observer of everything.
Exactly. That's kind of what you're talking about with the Roswell thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's kind of what death is, or when you get to that, maybe like all this, when you're about to die, everything just swirls back into you, and you're like, holy shit, that was all me, and then you're dead.
I was actually thinking about death today, because oxygen can stay within your brain for like 15 minutes or so after you die. Is your body's dead and your family's crying, and you're like, you're dead.
Yeah.
But in your head, you're like, no, I'm still alive.
Yeah.
I got 15 minutes.
Well,
what's that 15 minutes feel like? Eternity.
Well, that's why
because
you
like
see
your eyes
white.
go. Yeah.
That's probably why you see white. It's because the oxygen shut off. If your consciousness is a wavelength, then it's slowing down the wavelength or whatever.
And it probably feels like eternity. I don't know. It's gonna be weird. The thing that I don't like leaving things behind. I don't know, the feelings I have. I don't know, the idea of losing them. I like the feelings and emotions of stuff. Like when you listen to a song and it just gives you a certain feeling.
Yeah.
I like that. I like or you haven't seen somebody in a while and you see them, that feeling.
I like the feeling that I have right now in the present day. I like the feeling knowing that I've done all this stuff in my life. I have all these things. I've gotten to this certain point of knowledge and understanding of myself, and trying to figure out other things. I would be pissed off if I died and I had to restart. It's
Dude,
like,
yeah, I think about that all the time.
All that
too.
work for nothing.
Like to get to this point, right? So you're reliving your same life, right? Is that what you're saying? Okay, yeah. I think about that too. Is I don't want to go through whatever I went through again,
right?
And again and again and
right.
again. Because like right now in this specific moment, I'm pretty happy. I can name times in the past where I wasn't happy because of certain aspects of my life. I wouldn't want that again, man. It sounds awful to me to do it, but the thing is, you won't know. You would have, and that's what kind of think like deja vu is like. Oh, okay, I'm on the right path at something. It's like, okay, I'm trying to be an illustrator, right? I don't want the struggle again. I don't want to go through business
I want to
school
be
again.
at least where I left off.
Yeah, and then that's probably what it is, dude. Because we have no idea what it is. We have no idea what consciousness. It's probably just us doing this again. Because why is this so easy? Because we did it an infinity amount of times, or an infinite amount of times.
Right.
It's like, oh, this is why it's so easy. Why do you have these feelings of, like I call it being like connected with the universe, like the oneness, because we are all within the universe type of thing. Is why does things feel good when you're being aligned with who you are type of thing, right? Like when you make a good song, you're aligning, because you've done it before. And so things are just aligning, and then
Right.
that's when you feel good. And then when you're not aligning with something of who you are, it just kind of feels bad.
off. Yeah.
Yeah, like working a 9 to 5 for me, for example, that feels off because that's not me.
Yeah.
Because the entire majority of my life, and maybe, until I'm 50, I'm doing something creative. And the feeling that like this consciousness has is latched onto, okay, well, it's been X amount of years for this. Because if you keep on going and going and going for an eternity, the creative part, let's say for 20 years, is a lot longer than the 5 years I was in school for, or the
Right.
3 years I was, so like that
Right.
is smaller. And so when I finally get to like, ooh, this is what you're supposed to be, or who you're supposed to be with, or this job or this thing, like it feels better because you're
Yeah.
aligning.
Like, what if the next time around you're stronger at it and you just keep doing it until you actually get to the point where, as opposed to being, a famous musician at 45, now you're a famous musician at 22, and you finally,
Yeah.
But I think maybe when you die, though, like your consciousness is, if it's a wavelength, think of like a sound wave. So, when you strum a guitar, you hear those notes, but then they cycle out. Do they disappear, or do those waves forever live?
Forever live.
So they forever live. So
Mhm.
they sharp, they flat, they sharp, they flat, they sharp, they flat, they sharp, they flat, they sharp.
So think of it like a ripple in a water. The original, you drop a pebble into water and the ripple goes out. That original thing is still moving through, right?
Right.
Let's just say you take the entire size of the lake, which is an acre big, so you drop it in. By the
it'll
time it
only
reaches the sides, it's so distorted that you have no idea. Like, okay, maybe like, so you're standing at the edge and you look like, what is this tiny little wave doing? Well, that was a little ripple. That was like maybe like a raindrop or a pebble. That's what I think it is. So like people in China can still hear us because it's just going around.
Right.
It's just throughout all this stuff, your voice, these podcasts, even though they exist in a digital form, still exist in the real world as waves of our voice.
Right.
But it's just so distorted you can't pick it up.
Right.
That's why when you have like radio towers, they can kind of like hone in,
Yeah,
make the
yeah,
signal
yeah.
bigger so you can receive
Yeah.
it easier.
Well, I think that's what your consciousness is, and it's a wave that will never dissipate. It'll just continue on and continue forth in some other, however, and maybe birth. Maybe your wave, when you die, your wave flies off, and the reason that. Okay, so like if someone dies in a hospital, well, there's lots of new vehicles for waves to be implanted in them being born. So a lot of people die in hospitals, so their wave goes off, but then this thing happens at the exact moment and it goes right back into this thing and it still remembers, but the wave is very weak at this point. So when that baby's born, it's got a certain amount of time before the wave that's inside of that was transferred from the mother to this baby, before that wave picks up steam and knocks that other wave out, and then it's not you anymore. And like,
Well, technically it's you. It's just not the former
Right,
physical
right,
body
right.
entity of that you were.
but like things like hotels or haunted houses, people die in those, and those waves never went anywhere else. That's why there's like ghosts and shit, because that wave is still vibrating. And then people that like die in car accidents or something, those are the people that like walk, or the waves that walk the earth. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like whenever your physical body's done and your wave, your brain, however, it's maybe your wave, your consciousness or your wave is electromagnetic, and your brain is too, and that's how they stick together, and that's how they become one, because that comes into your brain or your heart or your body, whatever it is that draws it in. And then at the point of your departure, the point from your physical body, whatever the environment is around is kind of deterministic of where your wave goes.
Yeah.
Because like this room is treated. So when a sub bass sound comes out of those speakers and it hits that wall or it hits those corners, it dies, because those prevent it, or it bounces it off and it bounces back and forth until it can't be heard anymore. But if there was no wall there, that sub would just boom, it would go until it found something else.
Until it slowed itself down.
Yeah, until it slowed itself down and jumped into something else or something like that. So maybe that's kind of how consciousness, reincarnation, all that kind of stuff works.
When I was 3, my mom said this, that when I was 3, I told her that I like this family better than my last family, because my last family was
Yeah,
mean
you
to
said
me.
that before.
Yeah, which is weird, right?
Yeah. And I think this woman I work with, she just had a baby, and she keeps saying how much he grunts, and he just keeps grunting, and he's grunting and making all these sounds, and it's like, yeah, because that wave is trying
To communicate through this body that doesn't have the motor skills
and
to
it's
do
like,
it.
Yeah, and it's like, I can't do it.
That's why I think babies do that. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I need to say something. And their hands are moving like, this is weird.
Yeah.
Because they remember hands, but they just don't kind of remember hands. Yeah.
And then they look at you. They because they look at you all weird, and
Because everything's brand new.
Yeah, and it's like they have like this look in their eye, like they've been kind of there before. Maybe the same thing can hold true for like cats and dogs. I mean, my fucking cat is so weird. He's like a human. He's in, maybe someone died right next to the mom cat when that baby was born, and they got stuck in the cat or something, or a wave or something, a particle, whatever the consciousness is. But I think that wavelength thing would be, or string theory or whatever would be, well, I guess it would be a wave. Like if our consciousness was a wave, that would support kind of a lot of the different ideas of reincarnation, death, that whole thing,
Well, they say it takes 49 days for the soul to leave the body. I think in Middle Eastern philosophy, and then for the beginning of the cell splitting to create a baby, it takes 49 days for the pineal gland to develop. And so that's where and there was a weird correlation between the two. Like, it wasn't like they knew it, it's just they discovered it. And like, why is it takes 49 days for the entity of the consciousness of the body to leave? Because this other one's being prepared, so it can be a receiver to go to that one.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's some heavy shit.
That'd be cool though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But I don't want to be fucking born into something that I'm going to forget about this.
Or what I don't want, I like this life. I really like this life.
Yeah, me too.
That I remember driving home in St. Louis and then seeing like people on Smack just like drooling. Like, I don't want to be that guy, man.
Yeah.
If I'm reincarnated, don't make me be that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to come back anyone else but myself in my current state, and how I probably will be later. But maybe that's the thing. Maybe you just have to build up your wavelength, and in order to build up your wavelength is, to be the actual you. That's why everyone says look within, find out who you really are. Maybe that's kind of like beefing up your wavelength, and the stronger your wavelength, when it leaves this, your vehicle, it's stronger and it can navigate better. I don't know.
Do you know the whole theory between alpha and beta males? Like beta people? Alpha. So an alpha male is like they always say, like, okay, the alpha male gets the girl. The beta male is always in the friend zone. That type of thing.
Right.
Because I was thinking about the alpha and the beta type of people, and I really think, okay, here's the characteristics of alpha. They're strong, they're masculine, they have a good sense of humor, all this stuff. And let's say like you identify as a beta male, like, okay, well, I don't have any of that. How do I become, alpha? And so you just decide to be that. Okay, I'm going to be stronger, I'm going to be funnier, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that, to be an alpha. To me, that is the beta quality. Because an alpha quality doesn't give a fuck about being an alpha. That's why they're the alpha. But if you follow the plans of, okay, well, an alpha, does this, you're still a beta.
Right.
You're just trying to pretend to be an alpha, and shit doesn't feel right when you're acting like something else. Like, for an example is, I like to talk about feelings and emotions and experiences. That's me. But let's say somebody says, well, that's not really an alpha male quality. That's more like, talking about feelings, that's beta. So, okay, well, I'm going to suppress my feelings and not talk about them. So, and then I just make things fucking worse, completely worse. That's a beta mentality, because you're not actually being who you are.
Right.
So that's kind of where I was going to get at, using that as an example to what you're at, is really identifying what you are that makes you the alpha version of you. Not in society's eyes, the alpha version of you. Because if you don't really, buy into all this stuff to make yourself better for somebody else, let's say, like I said, oh, okay, I need to be more masculine because if society says I need to be more masculine. But you're just like, okay, I'm just going to be this. That you do it throughout the course of your life of being who you are, the true alpha version of yourself, that your wavelength is a lot stronger.
Right.
So you don't mindlessly go into, hood rats, when you get older. You actually go into something successful, and you actually become, like, maybe before you became you were working on yourself, right? And you became better. Okay, now I'm going to go into a better version, and then a better version, and a better version, and a better version. I guess the whole idea is to get rid of the ego, right?
Right.
So if you dissolve that and make the self resonate higher, that the next entity you go into is going to be a better version of you.
Well, what if you get to a certain point where your wavelength is too strong for this, so you actually...
Okay, I forget what this is. My friend Jack was telling me about it. That's when you actualize and you finally tier to the consciousness entity cloud.
Right. You're just there.
Yeah, you become almost like what's his name? Like the Buddha, right?
Right.
You become the Buddha.
Yeah.
And then you've transcended every sort of you mitigated suffering. You don't cause harm to anybody. You just like are the perfect human being in the capacity of what a human being can be is perfect, right?
Yeah.
You're done.
You're infinite. You reach infinity.
You reach infinity, and then whatever that is, that's what you're trying to attain.
Yeah.
But since we're living these lives, we haven't reached it yet.
And this book that I've read before called The Only Planet of Choice, I know I've talked to you about it. It's like basically psychic conversations with these entities. They're called the Nine. The main guy's name is Tom, but they're psychic. They're entities. Essentially, they're aliens, I guess, for lack of a better term. But they talk to them, and they're like, "Well, what are you?" And they're like, "It's not what we are. We just are." And there's a lot of like reference to that whole sort of like, well, I'm not a person. I don't see. I don't love. I don't hate. I don't feel things, you know? It's like they just are. And when you just are, you transcend any sort of feeling or chemical imbalance or any sort of things firing in your mind. These are all just from this body. Jealousy and like love, hate. Now, love, not to be confused with, what's the word?
Infatuation or lust.
Well, no. Well, yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what we feel. I think that infatuation, love, overshadow and disguise love. Love is a real thing. Love is it. It is it. It's being there. It's being there. You feel love. Well, you don't technically feel it. You just are it. But that's like this in this book. He like talks about that.
How old is this book, by the way? Is it like a couple years old?
No, it's older than that.
Okay, I think Sam Harris was talking about this, and he said, "But is that? It could be Sam Harris. It could be some. I want to say Sam Harris because he did a talk on something similar like this, maybe like 5-8 years ago.
Yeah,
you're saying, how do you know that is true bliss? Because your dad dies, right? And you're just like, I don't feel. It just is.
Yeah,
you're not human. That's no longer being human.
Right.
Because you are a human, you should feel the pain of a loved one dying.
Right.
Isn't that the whole idea? But so like even
we're getting rid of that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, like, so you get rid of that whole pain. How do you know that's love then? You don't have any love, you don't have any sadness, you have no elation, you have nothing. So you transcend being a human. But is that actually worth it?
Yeah, I guess that's the question.
To me, I would say no. Because I like the feeling of, being loved and giving love.
Yeah.
Feeling some sort of sadness. Because I know from sadness, there was a time that's going to be happy. And I'm just fearing, and then the next thing's going to be happy, right? Feeling to the next happy.
Well, I think it's kind of, you can, if you think about it like that, it's like, well, I'm not sad that my dad died. I understand. He's gone to a better place. Not
he
looking
doesn't
at
exist he doesn't exist in this world. I'm not going to shed emotion over it.
Yeah, and I'll see him in the next one.
But let's say like you don't see him. I think that shielding your emotions and somehow completely removing emotion from you isn't, this is just my personal opinion on it, is not the way to go about it. What I think is to understand the emotion that you're getting. Why are you getting angry? Understand the reasoning behind feeling the anger. Is it because you're hungry? Is it because you're frustrated? Is it because of some other external thought or event that happened that manifests within the present moment? With the feeling that when somebody that you love is around you, what is that feeling? Understand, is it their presence? Is it the idea of them? Is it the things that they do for you? Is it the things that you do for them? Or when you're sad, why is it like that? To me is the ultimate idea.
Right. And I can't remember specifics, but Tom, the entity, does talk about that. It says, we are neither love nor hate. We are both love and hate. We are both good and bad.
It's the yin and yang of things.
It's the understanding of it. And I don't want to use the word not reacting on it, but being aware of it and not reacting on it, but knowing that yes, I can feel this way, or I am this way because of this, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I wonder if in some sort of human that the flip verse of that happens. So let's say like you get yelled at, right? And you feel kind of weak and upset. But let's say the opposite happens to the humans, or a specific person, where they get yelled at and they're like happy and they feel strong, or like when they feel love.
That's called fucked up people.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
There is. Those are like people. Those are like instigators. People that do bad things
to get off on it.
Yeah, to get off on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Like sociopaths.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
stuff.
But that's kind of like getting into psychology and biology and what makes people tick like that and why do they do the things they do. Because of some they saw something, or you can deduce it to whatever exponential factor of where it started. I guess that's
the Big Bang.
Yeah, exactly.
Like where's it ever going to begin?
Yeah, exactly.
Is
what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, is it maybe your brain didn't develop right because your mom, was malnourished, or just something like that? Like where did it truly begin? But I like the idea of understanding your emotions. The thing that like always gets me is I can sit here freely and talk to you about it, but when I'm actually, because like, okay, I can tell you what anger feels like or happiness feels like, because in this moment I'm kind of neutral.
Hindsight's 50-50.
But yeah, like I'm on the happier side. I'm not sad at all, but like let's say I'm feeling some sort of anxiousness. Me explaining to you my feelings in those moments is extremely difficult. My words become convoluted. You know what I'm talking about? Like, let's say I don't know, you feel like you're going to get in trouble, right? And like, okay, well, if this happens, I can explain this. But now you feel like you're in trouble, and you feel like the finger's being pointed at you, and you have no idea how to convey, because you're just overwhelmed with this emotion.
Right.
Or same thing as like if you're like, oh, I wonder if I should, kiss this girl. If in your mind, you're like, yeah, I'm like, before, like you talk to your friends before, like, oh yeah, I'm going to, and then you get to that moment, you're like, I just can't fucking do it. That type of thing, like I'm gonna go in and tell my boss exactly how it is, and then you finally step foot in that, and you're like, I don't know what the fuck to say. Like those sort of things is kind of the things that like I struggle with. So, like when I'm feeling the emotion, explaining the emotion is really difficult. I can internalize it extremely well.
Right.
Well, here's the reason why you're not doing it, because you feel this way, and okay, no, just mitigate it, but it just doesn't work.
Right.
That type of thing.
And after it happens, you get to reflect on it.
Yeah, I think that is the key, is to reflect on it and then go forward
and build up your arsenal of that knowledge, so that almost every situation that happens, you are present in the moment and you react accordingly, and you don't react out of false responses based upon your emotions or whatever, because you've trained yourself to respond on that appropriate response.
Exactly, dude. Because like where I am gathering from what you're saying is that I know, like I have like family members that when they when they're going somewhere, they're anxious. They have to be on a specific time. They're anxious to get there, and so they're really quick with people.
Yeah,
like get your ass in the car, that type of thing, because they're not acknowledging, I'm feeling anxious to get to this specific moment because I want the event to begin.
They don't
now.
take the time to address it.
Exactly. So they'll look at it as, I told you to do this and you didn't do it. It's your fault. Like, no, wait. I'm just here. You're feeling some sort of anxiety, and you just can't acknowledge your feelings for it and understand this is the reason why you're kind of lashing out. Like that's, I think, where you're getting at. That's kind of where my mind was.
Yeah, it's like a relationship, right? Because I've seen people do the podcast without
the pop filter,
but the P's, see
the P's and the B's, and and the T's.
But that's like a relationship, right? If you want a marriage that's going to last 50 years, what we just talked about, that is essential to a relationship. So that should be the perfect indicator. You can't have a relationship with someone else if you have that kind of relationship with yourself. So it's like internalizing those sorts of situations within yourself, but then also like, so, me and my girlfriend, there's things that we get in fights about or whatever, but each time something like that happens, we get better at it, and it doesn't happen. And eventually there will be nothing that is like that. We'll be in a symbiotic relationship, and we'll just get it, and that should be the goal with people too. And I feel like sometimes people put too much time on themselves for that, and they fall shy of realizing things in relationships with other people. That's why there's like people you work with or people and they do things sometimes, and you're just like, how are you doing that? Why are you I can't even believe have you been in public? Have you, there's people there's a person, there's people that I've met and that I work with that do things interacting with other people or interacting with me, and I'm just kind of like, you haven't figured that out yet, that people don't like that, or that's not like an acceptable that's not an acceptable thing, and then you look into them and you're like, man, they're not.
Yeah, and I try to figure out why
because they're not conscious. They just don't care. They're just they're not within themselves. They're completely external.
See, that's kind of like what I was getting at a little bit too with okay, so I have to be this person. I have to be this alpha. It could be alpha female, alpha male. And they're trying to be this way because they have no idea who they truly are within themselves. They can't actually be themselves.
Right.
Because they have no idea who they are.
Right.
So they try to put on this facade of doing certain things and acting a certain way or dressing or just whatever it may be because they think that's how it's supposed to be. And then I always think that when people constantly... Because there's a difference between talking about yourself and bragging about yourself,
right.
The people who brag about themselves in a sense, they're probably just really insecure and they just need some sort of like, oh wow, that's really cool,
reinforcement.
Man. Yeah, rather than somebody saying like, oh, this is what I did because they asked the question type of thing. But it's kind of like that is they just don't get it. So when you see them behave a certain way, like, oh, they don't get it at all.
Right. I saw the other day on the way to work, I think it was 2 days ago, I saw this car. It was in front of me. It was going slow. It was weaving coming close to the lane, slowing down too soon for stop signs, just not paying attention. And it was this woman, and she had a cigarette in her left hand out the window, blatantly staring at her cell phone in her right hand, and then 2 car seats behind her in her car. And I'm just like, you never got it. And you brought children into this world. Like, I wanted to follow her and like pull over and be like, dude, you have kids in your backseat and you're driving like that. And those are the kind of people that have never taken 1 second to internalize and been like, oh, maybe I am wrong. Maybe I do have something I can work on. Yeah. They just go through life thinking that it's everything. We all have flaws. We all have things we need to work on. No one's perfect. And people like that, they just either they don't care or they're just oblivious to it. They just, they drink Coke and they smoke cigarettes. They text and drive with their kids in the back because they're oblivious. They're just not. They never took 5 seconds to look within and question them.
Like my bad habits might somehow negatively cause some sort of thing to my
Those
kids.
are the kind of people that probably a cat died and the cat's wave jumped into their fucking bodies. Yeah. And they're just kind of like, I don't know how to use this thing right here. What are these arms? These are cool. And so they're just indulging in exactly.
Like, I'm going to smoke because it makes me feel good right now.
Exactly. So they're on like they're on the beginning journey of getting it. So they probably have
they first became
10,000 years. 10,000 times they have to go through the cycle before they get to the point where they'll never be able to look back at them. But we got to see that little fragment of like
those are the first human entities, dude. Yeah. I kind of like looking at them that way.
Those are like the larva of like the fly lands on your sandwich and takes a shit and puts a larva in your sandwich, and like that's the beginning. That's the smoker Texan driver with the kids in the back.
Yeah,
and. Not to sound conceited, but we're like, the flies that are flying around trying to, eat as much as we can and figure out all these things and all these different eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I like the idea that they're beginning their journey in the human entity.
Yeah. Because a true aware person, a person that could even be halfway or a quarter along the way, wouldn't make as many red flags in one in one sitting is them. They may be smoking and texting and driving. They're 25% of the way,
Yeah.
or smoking with kids in the back. They're
That's kinda-
15% of the way.
That's kind of how I view. Oh, that kind of startled me, dude.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how I view your life as from a youth to an adult. Is when you're a youth, you don't really think that your life. You know you're gonna die someday, but you don't really know. So you just indulge in all these bad habits that you have, and I really think that you're acting on kind of like instant gratification rather than prolonged gratification. So like, yeah, I'll smoke cigarettes when I'm 9. I'll start drinking when I'm 12. That sort of thing. And then, then you like, maybe I was mean to this person when I was in elementary school, and so on and so forth. And you grow up, and as you're growing up, like, okay, I shouldn't have been mean to this person. Here's the reason why. Maybe you reach out to them and you explain like, hey, I was a kid. I apologize, and then you stop smoking cigarettes, or you cut back on your drinking. Things like that. As you get older, because you're trying to make the best version of yourself, and you realize all these things I did as a kid are just bad. And then you see people who are like our age that are still doing that shit, man.
Right.
And it's like, when are you gonna wake up?
Yeah.
Like, when are you gonna stop using people? When are you gonna stop indulging in bad habits of yours? Like, it's like when you're 21, right? You're at a bar and you see this guy, and let's say he's like 35, and he's trying to pick up girls who are like 21, and he's like going around like, God, that guy's a fucking creep. One of these newly 21-year-olds is going to be that one day.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's all every morning when you wake up, you just got to be a better version of yourself from the previous day. One small thing will make the difference, because then the next day, how many days are you on this earth? 365 days times, we'll say, 80 years. That's a lot of days. That's a lot of little things. There might not even be that many things to be good at or fix,
Yeah, like if we all had let's say you lived to 80, and you just crossed off every week that you passed by, and just slowly see your life dwindling down.
Right.
Yeah, you should just be better. Just try to be better.
Just be better.
And I get that, like, you will you're gonna fail. You're gonna fail sometimes. One day you're gonna be mad at a loved one, or a family member, or even a friend. It's gonna happen. But try to mitigate it as best as possible.
Yeah. Adios,
amigos. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube now if you want to check that out. You can always fast forward that, see our cool little pictures and stuff. Where else, man?
Twitter, Instagram, iTunes, Spotify, Google Music, Facebook. Follow us on Facebook.
Yeah, that's another one I was thinking.
Share with your friends. Spread the word.
Oh, and some people have been commenting. Thank you for that too, by the way. Like we talked earlier, that we had comments on citing stuff. So on the Twitter, we're trying to post stuff there to kind of, and same thing. Like I'm not really finishing thoughts here. I apologize, but we're trying to use your feedback in the positive way to give you a better listening experience. So thank you.
Yep.